I have a mobile phone in my Dantian. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 The Dead Girl. Calm down, calm down. Sudan forced himself to calm down. At this juncture, the most fearful thing is to be overwhelmed by temptation. He must not be careless. If he is careless, he will only pay a heavy price. Why can't I see Lordly? Didn't he come in earlier? Sudan looked for Lordly, but Lordly was not in this courtyard at all. Lordly was teleported indirectly. I came in from the door. He might have been teleported to another place. Sudan thought to himself. He immediately carefully checked every scene in the courtyard in the trees full of spiritual essence. The courtyard was also shrouded in mist. His eyes could not see far at all. He could only see the surrounding area of several feet. The fluctuations of the holy domain spread, and he could only vaguely perceive the scene in the courtyard. This courtyard, there is no danger. Sudan felt relieved. He maintained the realm of the saint and walked over. The garden was full of mist and the fragrance was fragrant. When Sudan walked towards the tree, suddenly, the whole courtyard was filled with smoke and haze, and blue flames suddenly burst out, shooting towards Sudan like a blue snake shadow. The crisis broke out in an instant. But the holy domain fluctuation suppressed these blue flames with all its strength. Strong winds emerged from the holy domain fluctuation, howling and blowing away those blue flames. After all, it was the holy domain fluctuation that comprehended the 6th level of the wind. It easily crushed the blue flames. Those blue flames continued to emerge from the smoke and haze. At first, they only had a little power of the flame mystery. Slowly, the power of these blue flames gradually increased. Whoosh whoosh. The flames surrounded Sudan from all directions, and the scorching heat turned the smoke and haze in the sky into a fiery red. The power of this flame should have reached the 4th level. Sudan frowned as he looked at the blue flames that were constantly shooting out from all around him, and it's still getting stronger. He clenched his palms out of thin air, and a 3-colored longsword suddenly appeared in his hand. With a wave of the long sword, the 5th level of the wind mystery, Fengbonu, was performed, and blood-colored sword light suddenly shot out. The blood-colored sword light filled the sky, and within the range of the holy domain fluctuation, it seemed to form a huge sword-shaped shield. It blocked all the blue flames. Boom boom boom. Countless blue flames shone brightly, but they were easily shattered in front of the blood-colored sword light. The sword light roared and was unstoppable. Although those blue flames were crushed by the sword light and scattered all over the ground, the holy domain fluctuation also suppressed them and extinguished them. But this blue flame seemed endless. Although it was crushed by the blood-colored sword light, it reappeared one after another, condensed, and burst out. And each one was stronger than the last. Boom. Suddenly, a crescent-shaped azure flame burst out from the haze, and in the blink of an eye, it collided with Sudan's Saint Domain and Fengbo's angry sword light. Boom boom boom. Sudan's Saint Domain fluctuations were suppressed, and the blood-colored sword light was shattered. Not good. The 6th level of the flame secret? Sudan was shocked, and he changed his sword skills repeatedly. A blood-colored storm spread out, and the 6th level of the wind secret sword skills, the blood-colored storm, was performed. The blood-colored sword wind was endless, and the moment it touched the crescent-shaped blue flame, it blocked the blue flame. Although both are the 6th level secrets, the wind secret is naturally slightly restrained by the fire secret. At the same level, the wind secret naturally has the upper hand. Wind guides the fire. The level of this flame secret is constantly improving. If it is improved again, it will reach my limit. Sudan was secretly shocked. While performing the sword skills, every time he attacks me, I will take the initiative to attack him. I want to see what is in this haze. Sudan's eyes were fixed. Performance mode. Boom. Suddenly, a layer of blood red light entangled Sudan's body. The blood red light rose up and shone brightly, exuding a trembling breath. In an instant, it filled the entire range of the sanctuary. The trembling breath was filled with blood. A flash of knife light. In an instant, it burst into the haze where the crescent-shaped blue flame appeared. Boom. The knife light fell into the haze, and the whole haze exploded instantly. The blue flames were released all over the sky. The blue flames, that were originally aggressive, were now completely restrained. They frantically resisted Sudong's knife light. Obviously, they were struggling. It seems that this is the limit of this blue flame. The 6th level is close to the 7th level of mystical power. Break it for me again. Sudong's eyes were cold, and the long knife in his hand swung out again. Buzz buzz buzz. The bloody blade wind was like a piece of blood moon. The blood light covered the mist, invaded the mist, drowned the blue flame, drowned, crushed. The blue flame began to collapse. HMPH. Suddenly a delicate hum echoed throughout the courtyard. This voice was coquettish and angry, but it was extremely pleasant to hear. Sudong was stunned for a moment, and he put away the long sword in his hand and looked forward. This lady was just playing with you, but you took it seriously. The coquettish voice echoed throughout the courtyard. Sudong's heart tightened. He was even more vigilant. In this fairy island courtyard that has been around for who knows how many years, this kind of girl's voice suddenly sounded. Sudong not only did not find it moving, but felt weird. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. What's the big deal about bullying a little girl like me? Go, Xiaohuo, take care of him. The voice rang out, and a huge fireball suddenly appeared in the courtyard. The fireball was fiery red, with strange flame mysteries rising from its surface, emitting terrifying heat and power. The fireball turned into a huge flame giant in the blink of an eye. Fire snakes were wrapped around the flame giant, and a flaming hand reached forward, flashing with flames. It went straight to Sudong. Boom. Sudong controlled the sword light, and chopped the flame giant. The flames on the flame giant's body were floating, breaking, and healing, and the flaming hand fell on Sudong's blood-red sword light, which directly trembled, and the sanctuary fluctuations also trembled. Bang bang bang. The flame giant's big hand hammered Sudong's sanctuary fluctuations 3 times in a row. The fist was like a violent storm, smashing hard. Even the void was trembling. The power of the flame giant's fist made Sudong feel frightened. It's also the mysteries of fire, but this flame giant's simple punch is stronger than the 7th level of the mysteries of fire. Sudong's heart moved. When a warrior practices the secrets of heaven and earth, it is an improvement and sublimation of his skills. But this punch from the flame giant, can it also be considered a skill? This punch. Sudong endured it, and watched the flame giant's boxing, which seemed to be rough. Sudong thought it was very rough at first glance, but the more he looked at it, the more he felt that it was somewhat exquisite. Sudong only felt a flash of inspiration in his heart, and felt a hint of enlightenment, but he couldn't catch it. Bang! The holy domain wave shield on his body was directly shattered by the hammer. But in an instant, a dark red streamer flashed on Sudong's body, and a layer of dark red battle clothes instantly covered Sudong's whole body. Boom. The flame giant's big hand smashed down, and Sudong's figure trembled, without even the slightest injury. What a powerful battlesuit treasure. A surprised voice came from the mist. In the past, my father also gave me a battlesuit treasure, which can block any attack below the 3rd heavenly fairy. Unfortunately, I gave it away later. Xiaohuo, you can't do anything to him. Come back. The flame giant immediately retreated back, and the mist dissipated. Sudong also looked over. In the haze, a crystal ball appeared, and the crystal ball was placed in the hands of a petite and beautiful figure. The fire giant knelt respectfully beside the petite and beautiful figure, but the petite figure sat cross-legged with her eyes closed. Her body was intact, as if she was just sleeping, but it exuded a strong aura of death. Sudong was silent. He could tell at a glance that this petite and beautiful girl had been dead for an unknown period of time. Although dead, she still exuded a strong aura. Chapter 202 Fenglao Yulan. A strong aura spread throughout the courtyard. The girl's body sat cross-legged, holding a crystal ball in her hand, with a faint smile on her lips, as if she was asleep. Sudong looked at the lifelike body of the girl in front of him. Although he knew that the latter was dead, he still felt inexplicably palpitating. Facing this corpse, he was like an ant facing a dragon, and he couldn't help trembling in his heart. It can be imagined how terrifying this girl was when she was alive. You don't have to stare at my corpse all the time. What you should care about is a treasure here, not my corpse. The girl's voice sounded again, and the voice came from the crystal ball. Sudong hurriedly looked away. but he was surprised by the crystal ball. Unlike the residual thoughts left by the dead Yan's seventh void god in the Yan's inheritance, this girl's consciousness seemed to be clearer, and she was much more agile when talking to him. "Are you still conscious?" Sudong couldn't help but speak. Although he didn't know how long the girl had been dead, the consciousness of speaking gave him an illusion that the girl was still alive. Consciousness? Giggle. A silver bell-like laugh came from the crystal ball. "I'm not my master's consciousness. I'm just a creature that relies on the master's soul to survive. Your world is too small in the void. When you touch the void, you will understand how vast the void is. There are countless lives. There are many lives that can parasitize you and give you great help. I'm a parasitic life. Even if my master dies, I will still exist for a long time. Because I have been parasitizing in the depths of my master's soul since my master was born. For a long time, I have all the master's memories and experiences. Although my master has been dead for a long time, I will still act according to my master's consciousness. We are inseparable." Sudong was slightly surprised. Parasitic creature? He had indeed never heard of it. The seventh void god of the Yan family obviously should not have such a parasitic creature. "You said I'm the master's consciousness. I can only simulate and imitate the master. My master has been dead for a long time. Calculated by the time of your world, it should be 100,000 years. 100,000 years." Sudong was shocked. Although immortals have a long lifespan, none can live for 100,000 years, which is close to immortality. In the past 100,000 years, there have been a total of 6 guests in my courtyard, 5 of whom are immortals of the heavenly way. Only you are a warrior. A warrior can practice the 6th level of the mysteries of heaven and earth. Even in my void kingdom, it is very remarkable. Are you willing to sit down and listen to my story? The girl's voice continued. "I'm willing." Sudong hurriedly sat cross-legged in front of the girl. The fire giant behind him looked over, and his expression seemed to be very unfriendly. Although Sudong felt that the spiritual essence in the courtyard was dazzling, he was patient at this moment. This place is mysterious and extraordinary, and it should be related to the great secret of Yijin Fairy Island. Of course, it is also a great opportunity. Sit opposite the girl. "Thank you." The crystal ball made a sound. You can hear the sincere joy in this voice. "My name is Fenglao Yulan, and I come from a powerful country in the void, the Fenglao ancient country. You don't need to be surprised. The void is vast and boundless. There are countless powerful people born, and naturally there are countries. The power of the Fenglao ancient country is beyond your imagination." The life in the crystal obviously regarded herself as a girl again, and began to speak. Sudong was secretly surprised, but he could still accept it. After all, he had a lot of experience, and with the inheritance of the Yan family, he had some understanding of the void, so he was naturally prepared. There are countless worlds in the void, big and small, and it is normal to form a country, just like some powerful people control and rule many worlds. 100,000 years ago, my father, Fenglao Yu, a top warrior, participated in the competition for the position of the ruler of the ancient Fenglao kingdom. In this competition, he failed, and the price of failure was death. My mother and I started to flee early, but you saw the final result. The enemy was too strong. We died after fleeing to the end. Don't be surprised. A real warrior in the void can easily kill you, even if they are separated by a long distance in the endless void. Sudong was silent. The flame giant on the side seemed to have recalled something and knelt there trembling. The flames on his body were much more restrained. Of course, I didn't expect to escape this disaster, but there is a glimmer of hope, so I have to fight for it. My father, Fenglao Yu, is the most powerful man in the entire Fenglao Empire and even in the endless void. He possesses great power. He originally had hoped to fight for it, but he suffered the most despicable persecution. The crystal voice continued, "If you lose, you will die. All the lives, friends, and relatives related to him will die." Before her death, my mother controlled the cave to shuttle through the void and finally landed in this small world with leaking spiritual energy and gaps. Because of the gaps, she can easily descend, and there are very few obstacles, so she finally landed here, forming the Yijin Fairy Island in your eyes. Yijin is the name of this cave. This cave is a gift from my father to my mother. My mother had left many backup plans before she died. My mother has a bad temper. She hates outsiders stepping into the cave. She will definitely set up many traps and temptations, but in the end, it is also destined to bring a lot of killings. The crystal ball sighed. Sudong couldn't help but blink. He thought of the projection in the sky above Yijin Fairy Island. There were many treasures and inheritances on the fairy island, but they were projected into the sky specifically to let the people who came in fight for them. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Obviously, this was the work of Feng Yulan's mother. However, this is also my mother's hope, and my hope. There is always a ray of hope in everything. This vast void is full of stories of revenge and rise. As long as there is hope, we must fight for it. Therefore, in the long years, the Yijin cave will always open and welcome batches of life. It is to spread cause and effect, hoping that one day, a strong person among these lives can walk out and touch the void. All the spiritual essences, treasures in my courtyard, should mature once every time they are opened. One is a first grade spiritual essence, and the rest are second grade. You can pick them. But you are the only warrior I have seen in the past 100,000 years. I'm also a void god. I once had an opportunity, which was a great opportunity. I was able to become a very dazzling one among my father's many children, relying on it. The crystal ball suddenly floated up and floated in front of Sudong. In the crystal ball, there were strange stars, mountains, and rivers, and the world emerged. Back then, I was an arrogant and domineering young lady. I loved traveling to the many small worlds in the void. Once, in a small world, I accidentally saved a bullied little beggar. Not only did the little beggar not thank me, he also said that I disturbed his difficult practice. I was angry and wanted to throw him back to the beggar's nest, but I felt sorry for him and couldn't bear it. In the end, the little beggar left alone, and when he left, he gave me this crystal ball. It was this crystal ball that changed my destiny. Even my father said that this crystal ball is extraordinary. I lived for a long time, but eventually died like this. There are countless strong people in the void, and even the world immortals can die. What's more, although I have mastered 4 powers, so what? The void god is just an ant. I can give you this crystal ball, but I only hope you can do me one thing. The girl's voice was crisp. In Sudong's eyes, the body of the girl who had been dead for a long time actually moved at this moment. She raised her white jade-like palm, spread out her 5 fingers, and revealed an emerald green seed. The seed lay quietly in her palm. Help me take good care of this seed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 A Seed. If you accept my favor, you need to agree to my request and take good care of this seed. Don't be lazy. The girl's voice was firm and a little harsh. Sudong was a little confused. Even if the girl entrusted him to avenge his enemies or take care of an animal, he could accept it, but asking him to take care of a seed. How to take care of a seed? Find a good place to plant it, and then water and fertilize it every day. How should I take care of this seed? Sudong couldn't help asking. As long as she needs it, give her the best. The girl said. What can a seed need? The seed can't speak. Sudong didn't understand, but he glanced at the girl's body with a faint smile on her lips. He looked at the trees on both sides of the yard. It was just taking care of a seed. He could accept this cause and effect. Okay, I promise you, I will take good care of this seed. Sudong nodded and then reached out to take the seed from the girl's hand. Touching the girl's palm skin, Sudong only felt it chill like ice. But when he took the seed, he felt that the seed was slightly warm. Warm, beating, like a heart. What a strange seed. Sudong thought to himself. Seeing him take the seed, the fire giant kneeling behind the girl had a much gentler look. Okay, take the treasure. You can stay here for a while. Remember, except for me, the other treasures in the outside world are all traps. Although you have a treasure battlesuit, there are some places that can trap you and kill you alive. Don't be careless. My mother is not kind, especially after my father died. Her temperament changed drastically. The girl warned. Maybe because they haven't talked for a long time, the girl's parasite is also very bored and wants to find someone to chat. Sudong nodded slightly. Women's temperaments are fickle, not to mention the death of their husbands and the death of the whole family. In desperation, they may do anything crazy. However, what he values is the spiritual essence, and he is not greedy. The spiritual essence treasures here are enough, and he has no thoughts or pursuits for the treasures in the outside world for the time being. At that moment, Sudong put away the seed in his hand. He was about to put it into the storage bag. Don't put it in the storage bag, where there is no temperature. Put it on your heart, and keep it close to your body. The girl's voice sounded again. Sudong was startled. Then he nodded. He put the seed in his hand into his clothes on his chest, and then Sudong first picked up the crystal ball floating in front of him. This crystal ball can make Feng Lao Yulan regarded as the most important treasure around her, and even her extremely powerful father thinks it is extraordinary. The crystal ball fell into his hands, and he held it with both hands. He looked into it. In the transparent crystal ball, the outermost is a faint starry sky, like the brightest galaxy. Under this galaxy, there are rivers and mountains. It's like a world. The world is running peacefully. The starry sky is flickering. The rivers are rushing. The mountains are towering. And the clouds are drifting. It is full of the most intuitive scenes of the world. At this moment, it seems that this crystal ball really contains a world. Sudong is a warrior, especially one who has comprehended the mystery of wind to the 6th level. Naturally, he could see at a glance the traces of the stars moving and the clouds drifting in the crystal ball. Simple traces, at first glance, are clear, but when you look closely, you feel mysterious and unpredictable, containing the mysteries of heaven and earth. Stars moving, clouds drifting. Sudong was stunned. It has been another month since he watched the Void Root branch under the Kyan family in Liang County. During this month, he continued to observe the ancient god map. In the previous battle with the fire giant, he found that, although the latter's attack was rough, it seemed so rough, but it seemed to be extremely exquisite, and had the power of the 7th level of the mystery of heaven and earth. He was forced to use the second key battle suit to resist. At that time, his heart was touched. At this moment, looking at this crystal ball, he was even more deeply touched. He stared blankly. Next to the girl's body, a shadow gradually emerged. This shadow was almost translucent, only the size of a palm, and she was suspended on the girl's shoulder, sitting on her beautiful toes. What a great comprehension. His strength is just average, but his comprehension is really terrifying. Just fighting with Xiaohou touched me. I could see the mystery and immerse myself in the crystal ball world at first glance. It is a treasure, and you must have enough comprehension to comprehend it. If the crystal ball is thrown to an ordinary person, it will only be used as a decoration. Without enough comprehension and foundation, you can't see the mystery at all. Sudong can see it, because he has the foundation of the ancient god map, the proof of the roots and branches of the void, and his own comprehension is indeed extraordinary. It is natural, and he is immersed in it at first sight. Originally, I wanted to follow him. I was surprised. I have been waiting for so long, for so many years. There were 2 young monks who were close to the heavenly Deo Immortal. I was unwilling to follow them, but this warrior asked her to leave on her own initiative. It seems that this warrior is indeed extraordinary. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to get the reincarnation talisman and reshape my body and soul, so I escaped the disaster at that time. Although I escaped the disaster, I also missed the best opportunity to be born. I'm dormant between half life and half death. I hope that I can have a chance by following this warrior. It is the only chance. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Feng Lao is the only bloodline of this lineage. No one knows that there was another life that survived. The girl thought about it, but she was still worried. Is it really good to follow the young man in front of her? After all, this world is flawed, and it is impossible to become a void god. After all, this young man's bloodline is too ordinary and his foundation is too shallow. How much can he achieve in the future? The companion who came with him has already broken the 7-star formation. Interesting. The two people who came this time are really extraordinary. One is so savvy, and the other is so strong in the art of formation. Let's see if he can break the last heaven leaking formation. If he can, it is worth passing on the heavenly Deo immortal formation and many magic weapons to him. The girl's eyes lit up, and she thought to herself. Sudong was immersed in the study of the crystal world, but there was a sudden turmoil in Yijin Fairy Island. Quick, go to the palace of Yijin Fairy Island. There are immortal treasures in the palace. The Taoist sect and the Buddhist sect have begun to fight for it. It is much stronger than the pagoda they are fighting for. The news in the Immortal Alliance is the most circulated, and many intelligence has been purchased and leaked. Palace? Look at the projection. Ah, the 9 Ancestors Absolute Sword Immortal has also gone there. He is the top Mahayana ranked in the top 9 of the Yijin Fairy list. He has gone there, so I won't go. Many figures watched and pursued. There were also those who were afraid to give up and didn't want to wade into this muddy water. Treasures appeared one after another, and battles for them were staged. The sky projected many battles, and naturally the cultivators knew who was easy to mess with and who was not. Therefore, the Immortal Alliance specially summarized many battles and set a ranking list with high gold content according to the degree of strength and threat. It is called the Yijin Immortal List. First, Master Puzhi of Buddhism. Second, Link Suzy of Taoism. Third, Zuzan of Demon Sect. Fourth, Shiluo of Evil Wind Sect. Ninth, Ren Changling of the 9 Ancestors. 10th, the Mist Warrior. There are also many cultivators in the top 100, but these are far less dazzling than the top 10. They are all top masters who have fought in battles and are feared by people. They also have many treasures. Among them, the strongest is Buddhism, and the most mysterious is the Mist Warrior. Since the battle with the Thunder Demon, this Mist Warrior has disappeared. Because there are too many figures shrouded in mist in the sky projection, it is unknown whether he has left or is still in it. The appearance of the palace treasure attracted all the powerful people on the island, and a war was inevitable. Yijin Island had a great secret and great opportunity, and all the cultivators were almost crazy in the face of this great secret and great opportunity. Chapter 204, Skybreaking Slash. While the outside world was madly scrambling for treasures and opportunities, Sudong in the courtyard was not disturbed at all. This courtyard was like a paradise independent of Yijin Fairy Island, without disputes and extremely peaceful, isolate from all fluctuations. The mist in the courtyard was still rising. Sudong held the crystal ball in his hand, looking at the stars and rivers in the crystal ball. A trace of enlightenment flashed through his mind, and all these enlightenments turned into sword techniques and the mysteries of heaven and earth, evolving and absorbing in his heart. This crystal ball is so wonderful. Just comprehending and studying it may not yield much, but I have seen the ancient god diagram, and the void roots and branches. The ancient god diagram is an abstract and positive way to explain the mysteries of heaven and earth, and the void roots and branches runes interpret the mysteries of heaven and earth in reverse, one positive and one negative, which touched me greatly. Combined with the crystal ball, this crystal ball is a direct interpretation of the most essential trajectory of the operation of heaven and earth. Sudong retracted his immersed gaze and carefully put the crystal ball away and put it into the storage bag. He now believed why the girl in front of him said that this crystal ball was her most important treasure. He only watched for a while, and the many doubts in his mind became extremely clear. Sudong had originally realized the 6th level of the mystery of wind, and the fluctuation of the Saint's field reached 60 feet. His strength was comparable to the middle stage of the Mahayana realm. In addition, after a month of watching the ancient god map, he had a faint flash of inspiration when fighting against the fire giant. He had accumulated a lot of knowledge, and the only thing missing was an opportunity, which was this crystal ball, so he gained more at this moment. All the past understandings were integrated. Unknowingly, he broke through the understanding of the mystery of wind again, and his understanding of the mystery of heaven and earth reached a higher level. The breakthrough was silent. The improvement of the understanding of the mystery of heaven and earth made Sudong's entire realm improve. The mystery of heaven and earth, the 5th level, is a hurdle. Breaking through the 5th level, the more you go back, every breakthrough and understanding of a level is a brand new world. In terms of strength, it is even more earth-shaking. If one can comprehend the essence of the whole mystery of heaven and earth, then one will master a portion of the power of heaven and earth, which is comparable to the power of God, and the strength will reach a new realm. Generally, the void god only masters a portion of the power of God, and it is more difficult to master the power of heaven and earth. The seventh void god of the Yan family has an extraordinary status in the Yan family, because he masters a portion of the power of heaven and earth. It can be imagined that even in the great world, mastering the method of the mystery of heaven and earth is the top priority. After all, there are only a few people like Sudong who are so insightful in comprehending the mysteries of heaven and earth. Like the Yan Palace, it also allows Sudong to master the 8th level of the mystery of heaven and earth, and then go to the 4th test. From your appearance, you have gained a lot. If you have accumulated enough, the first time you watch this crystal ball, you will gain the most. The translucent girl on the shoulder of Feng Laoyulan's corpse smiled, and she also hoped that Sudong would be stronger. Only in this way can he go further. I have gained a lot, thank you. Sudong nodded and saluted the translucent shadow. If there is a breakthrough, can you let me see to what extent you have improved the mysteries of heaven and earth? The girl asked curiously. She was also a void god, and mastered the power of the mysteries of heaven and earth. It was a pity that he died in the end, but she was still curious. Boom. The fire giant stood up in response, and walked to Sudong aggressively. The human in front of him was no match for him, and could only rely on the defense of his battlesuit. Sudong smiled, raised his palm, and invisible waves spread instantly. Many insights in his heart emerged, and all kinds of spiritual lights flashed, and turned into the purest mysteries of heaven and earth. He smiled, and drew a stroke in the air with his palm towards the fire giant in front of him. This stroke in the air did not contain any true essence, but it contained the most terrifying mysteries of heaven and earth. With one stroke, a shadow of knife light appeared in the air. Boom. The knife light condensed out of thin air, wrapped with purple light. This purple light was the trace of the space being torn apart. The knife light flashed, and instantly penetrated the space, directly cutting through the body of the flame giant. Cutting through his body, it also evolved into black and purple light circles. The black and purple light circles exploded on the flame giant. Roar. The flames on the flame giant's body surged, and his fist fell down to resist frantically, but the black and purple light circles exploded and swallowed all the flames. The flame giant suddenly retreated violently, and his tall body trembled. When the black and purple light circles dissipated, he stopped. When he raised his head and looked at the figure in front of him, he was obviously a little more afraid. Awesome. The translucent girl's phantom on Feng Laoyulan's shoulder was extremely shocked. Without using any true energy, the mystery of the wind alone has achieved this power. You haven't used your longsword yet, and it's so powerful with just a casual stroke. The girl exclaimed. I've heard that among the mysteries of heaven and earth, there are some that are very good at attacking, and their power is particularly strong. Although I mastered the mysteries of fire, I was not as good as you in terms of attacking. Is this the 7th level mystery? It is indeed extraordinary, and it is in line with the mysteries of space. The mysteries of heaven and earth are strong and weak, and in the end, they all have to be in line with the most essential space and time between heaven and earth. Generally, warriors tend to be in line with the mysteries of space first, and her mysteries of fire also first match the space. In fact, he didn't know that Sudong also had the ancient god map inherited by the Yan family, plus the proof of the roots of the void, and the extreme way he practiced in the past was the proof of the top swordsmanship of the ordinary world. So naturally, it was done in one go. Watching the crystal ball, once you understand it, your strength will naturally soar. This book has been updated recently in update. Similarly, the understanding of the mysteries of heaven and earth must also be able to be practiced and displayed, and this knife directly evolved into a black and purple space explosion phantom. This sword strike is the 7th level sword technique I have comprehended from the secret of wind. It can shatter space, so let's call it shattering sky slash. Sudong was very happy and thought to himself. Being able to shatter space proves that Sudong's strength has reached a new level. It's comparable to the top of Mahayana. Seeing the smile on Sudong's face, the girl also smiled and said, "Congratulations, I have seen many powerful warriors, and in terms of comprehension alone, you can rank in the top 10. But don't be too proud. In the vast void, the last thing lacking is geniuses. Over the long years, I don't know how many geniuses have fallen. She was also a genius, and even a proud daughter of heaven, but now she has been dead for a long time, and the void has long forgotten her. Your starting point is too low. High comprehension is just a small advantage. I have seen people with extremely high starting points. At a young age, they have mastered the power of the mysteries of heaven and earth. If they put in a little effort, they can soar into the sky. If you don't have the opportunity, perhaps becoming a void god will be the limit. Your starting point is too low, and the most powerful existence in the ancient Fenglao country is beyond your imagination. The girl poured a basin of cold water on Sudong's head at the right time. Sudong couldn't help but smile bitterly. What Fenglao Yulan said was exactly the same as what the 7th void god of the Yan family said. They all said that his starting point was too low and his foundation was too poor, and he was destined not to go far. It's like building a house. The foundation has determined the final height of the superstructure. The starting point is low because the level of this world is low, and the life level it breeds is even lower. Remember, the void is boundless. No matter when and where, you must maintain a reverent heart. Only reverence can make you live long. As long as you are alive, there is hope for everything. The girl said again. She didn't talk too much about the void with Sudong. Talking too much would affect Sudong's mood. Yeah. Sudong nodded slightly. Okay, go pick the spiritual essence. It's time to leave after picking it. Your friend has already received the inheritance of the heavenly Deo immortal are left behind. The girl smiled. Prime Minister Li got the inheritance? Sudong's eyes suddenly lit up, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Chapter 205 Sudong was happy for Prime Minister Li. This time they came to the courtyard of Yijin Fairy Island, and they all gained extraordinary things. Then, Sudong turned around and walked to both sides of the courtyard, picking many spiritual essences from the trees, especially when he picked the first grade spiritual essence fruit. Unlike the rich spiritual energy of the second grade spiritual essence, the first grade spiritual essence fruit was extremely restrained, with only mysterious and strange patterns twinkling on the surface of the fruit skin. First grade spiritual essence, it's not easy to get it. Sudong put the spiritual essence into the storage bag and kept it carefully. He was very excited, not only because he comprehended the 7th level of the mystery of heaven and earth, but also because of this spiritual essence. It was of great importance. He had always guessed that, if he wanted to mutate his mobile phone and expand the memory space, he could only rely on the first grade spiritual essence. The mutation of the mobile phone was the foundation of his cultivation. The endless void, the boundless world. The foundation of his rise was the mobile phone in his Dantian. I will take this spiritual essence when I leave Yijin Fairy Island. Sudong was looking forward to it. In the courtyard, the shadow of the girl sitting on Fenglao Yulan's shoulder looked at Sudong, who had just finished picking fruits, and walked in front of him. Your name is Sudong? The girl asked. Sudong was stunned. He had never introduced himself. Don't be surprised. I heard clearly that your friend had communicated with you through the token before. The girl smiled. Sudong suddenly realized. Obviously, the girl in front of him could not hide everything that happened in this small courtyard. Sudong, remember what you promised me. You must take good care of the seed in your arms. She warned with a serious face. Definitely. Sudong nodded. It's just that I'm not very good at planting flowers and plants. The shadow of the girl glanced at him and shook her head. Don't worry, if she needs it, she will tell you naturally. Sudong was silent. Can a seed talk? But he didn't say much. After bowing slightly, he turned and left. Walking out of the small courtyard, the back was shrouded in mist, and the body of Fenglao Yulan in the courtyard could no longer be seen. In the mist, only the fire giant was still respectfully accompanying the girl's body. Roar. The flame giant still roared. Zhuo, I know, it's not that your strength has declined. This world is too weak after all, and the spiritual energy is very thin. You are a powerful life in the void, and you should live in the void. Being here will only make you weak. It's been 100,000 years, and you have been with your master for 100,000 years. This time the cave is opened, you should leave. Go to the void, that's your home. The shadow of the girl sighed softly. Roar. The flame giant shook his head again and again. When it was young, it was captured by a powerful force in the void, because it was a void alien species with abnormal blood. If its soul could be wiped out, its body would be the body that countless strong people dream of. Fortunately, its master appeared and saved it. The moment it was rescued, Feng Lao Yulan had been taking care of it since it was young. How could this feeling be erased over the long years? Until now, it can still recall every bit of the past. That was the happiest time for it. Later, its master died. It thought about revenge, but the enemy was too powerful. With its comprehension, it would still be nothing but an ant, even if it cultivated for a long time. It didn't want to go anywhere, it just wanted to stay with its master. Even though Feng Lao Yulan was dead, it was gradually weakening. But it would rather stay here. The void is not its home, this is its home. Another person left, it's a lot colder all of a sudden. The girl's phantom shook her head. The fire giant approached her cautiously with a strong flame. I'm not talking about this coldness, I mean it's a lot more deserted. The girl's phantom chuckled. I can't feel pain, cold or heat. I'm just a creature of the master's consciousness. Alas, I could still talk to my sister before, but now my sister is gone, and only you, Xiaohuo, are left. I know you will accompany me. I'm still worried about my sister, a little girl in a small world. How far can she go in the future? But my sister has been more talented and smarter than me since she was a child. She was one of the 3 most beautiful women in the ancient Fenglao country. She was so gorgeous. Her choice is never wrong. Maybe she saw something extraordinary in Sudan, but I didn't see it. The girl's phantom shook her head. No matter what, my sister is the last hope of the Fenglao family. The last hope. The last hope of the Fenglao family is left to Sudan. Outside the courtyard. Sudan walked out of the courtyard, and the space in front of him flashed. A figure shrouded in a faint mist appeared in front of him. It was Li Xiangai. Li Xiangai, huh? Sudan looked over and immediately saw the faint spiritual light emanating from Li Xiangai. Those spiritual lights crisscrossed and entangled with strange formations. Different levels of the divine transformation realm have different strengths after breaking through to the Mahayana. For example, ordinary divine transformation realm has the opportunity to break through to the Mahayana, but the breakthrough is only to the ordinary Mahayana realm, just because of luck, so it breaks through. The realm has been improved a little, and there is a grant from the heavenly Dao domain, and the other things have not changed at all. However, the divine transformation realm of the invincible divine transformation realm, once it breaks through, although the realm is the early stage of the Mahayana, the real strength can definitely be compared to the middle stage of the Mahayana or even the top combat power, because many means are there. The stronger the means, the stronger the strength. Li Xiangai used to be the invincible divine transformation realm, and he was more proficient in formations. Formations are the Taoist methods that can defeat the strong with the weak, and they are profound and extensive. This book has been updated recently in update. Therefore, the spiritual light wrapped around Li Xiangai at this moment is extraordinary, and Sudan can faintly feel the terrifying fluctuations wrapped around the latter. At that moment, Sudan couldn't help but smile, and bowed his hands and said, "Congratulations to Xiangai for obtaining the inheritance of the immortal, and breaking through to the Mahayana in one fell swoop." Haha, luck. Li Xiangai laughed. Then he stopped talking. Lion said, "Let's go find the spiritual treasure. Don't worry, I have achieved Mahayana in my formation. I can't say I have the confidence to break all the formations in Yijin Fairy Island, but I can break 80% to 90%. Li Xiangai was extremely confident. This was the confidence of breaking through the formation to Mahayana. He looked at Sudan, feeling a little guilty. When he sent a message earlier, he thought he went in to receive the inheritance, but Sudan had been waiting outside. How could he feel at ease? Sudan is like a relative to me. He needs spiritual essence. I have to try my best to find it for him. He is a warrior and has a short lifespan. I also want to help him find a martial god inheritance." Li Xiangai thought to himself. He was very responsible and cared about others. In the past, when his strength did not break through, he naturally kept everything in his heart. Now that his strength has broken through, and his ability is sufficient, the first thing he thinks of is others. Sudang lacks a future. He was more anxious than Sudang. Sudang didn't think so much. Boom. A roar suddenly came from the sky. Sudang and Li Xiangai both looked up and saw a giant flying boat that was 100 feet long flying across the distant sky with colorful streamers flying towards the depths of Yijin Immortal Island. It's the giant flying boat of the Southern Court of the Saint Sect. That flying boat contains a killing array. What happened? So crazy. That giant flying boat, which had only dealt with the demon army in the past, was actually mobilized to Yijin Immortal Island today. Xiangai, look at the sky projection. Sudang raised his head and looked at the sky projection. Li Xiangai also looked over, but he saw a huge projection space in the center of the sky projection, with a vast and majestic palace group in the background. In the palace group, there were golden shadows standing at this moment. Some of those shadows were tall, some were mighty, all wearing armor, holding battle blades, and exuding a surging aura. Countless cultivators fought with those golden shadows, and the palace was full of precious light. Countless treasures, spiritual essences, magic weapons, and Taoist scriptures shone with light. Crazy, fighting everywhere. Fighting with the golden shadow. There were also demons and humans fighting. There were also cultivators fighting each other, and demons fighting each other. Crazy, chaotic fighting. Sudang looked at the projection in the sky, secretly surprised. Suddenly, his eyes fixed, staring blankly at one of the projections. There, a group of figures gathered together, surrounded by 7 terrifying Mahayana demons. That group of figures. The most powerful one was a Mahayana cultivator holding a sword proudly. He didn't recognize the other figures, but the woman in the center of them made Sudang stunned. At this moment, he was stunned. I haven't seen her for nearly 2 years. She worked hard day and night to save his life when he was between life and death. She who lived and died together with him in front of the big demon on the Black Wind Mountain. All the things that happened in the past came to his mind, and Sudang's eyes froze. Is she okay? Fourth lady. Sudang opened the corner of his mouth slightly. It felt like his heartbeat slowed down. Chapter 206. Fight. Sudang looked at the projection in the sky. His sight had already been fixed on that figure. After 2 years of separation, Mengxi Niang's various expressions still appeared in Sudang's mind. She left without saying goodbye 2 years ago, but he could feel that she had a good impression of him. A strong joy emerged in his heart. When he saw her again at this moment, Sudang's mouth showed joy. After 2 years of not seeing each other, Si Niang has reached the God Transformation realm. Sudang was also surprised. There are countless magical encounters in this world. In just 2 years, Mengxi Niang went from an ordinary person to a strong person in the God Transformation realm. Mengxi Niang must have had a special encounter. She left without saying goodbye 2 years ago. Perhaps because of this special encounter. While looking at Mengxi Niang, Sudang also looked at other scenes in the field. There were many figures fighting against monsters here, and the source seemed to be a talisman flashing with rich spiritual light in Mengxi Niang's hand. Even through the projection in the sky, Sudang could still feel the peculiarity of the talisman. It was far beyond ordinary magic weapons. No wonder so many Mahayana monsters were attracted to fight for it. In addition to the talisman in Mengxi Niang's hand, treasures were scattered all over the palace, and people were fighting for them everywhere. The Immortal Alliance has spread the news that the palace complex on Yijin Immortal Island has the most treasures, and has long attracted countless cultivators to fight for it. Should we go? Li Xiangai looked at Sudang. Sudang looked at the treasures in the palace. There were 4 weapons and magic weapons scattered in one palace, each of which exuded a powerful aura. There was a vermilion flower in one palace, and the flower bloomed in the palace. First class spiritual essence. Sudang's eyes burst into light. Great opportunity. This is the great temptation left by the owner of Yijin Immortal Island. There are dangers, but also opportunities. Go. Without the slightest hesitation, Sudang and Li Xiangai soared into the sky and flew towards the palace complex in the center of Yijin Immortal Island. This palace is protected by a formation. Every time a layer of palace formation is broken through, there are countless treasures. Those treasures are enough to drive these cultivators crazy. Although the formation is dangerous, robbing treasures is dangerous, and even the Mahayana realm can perish, but now it is too late to care. Those palace formations, it seems that only the outermost formations have been broken, and the core palaces have not been destroyed. Sudong looked at the projection in the sky and thought to himself. Above the towering palaces, humans, monsters, Taoists, Buddhists, evil cultivators, all kinds of top sects are fighting each other. But the mainstream is still the human race and monsters fighting. After all, although the upright cultivators fought for treasures, they were just fighting, and they kept some measure of restraint. But it was different when dealing with monsters and evil cultivators. Once they took action, they would kill them. If we break another palace, there will be magic weapons and armor in that palace. Those armors look extraordinary. I just lack a top-notch armor. A Mahayana cultivator was looking at the magic weapons in the palace. Many cultivators were also coveting them. The desire for treasures had already overwhelmed their minds, and they were all waiting for an instant outbreak. Lurong, old devil, look at your expression. Why are you so anxious? Treasures belong to those with virtue. These treasures in the fairy palace are all spiritual, and will choose their own owners. The Mahayana cultivator of the Yadao sect laughed, and the sky was full of blue spiritual light floating on his body. Yes, when the palace was broken, a talisman flew directly into the hands of the female cultivator of the Nine Ancestors sect. This is an opportunity. Of course it is also a disaster. The demons have targeted them. The Nine Ancestors sect only has a Mahayana cultivator in Beijian Mountain who was injured before. This talisman can't be saved. There were also cultivators watching and talking covetously. They were ready to take action at any time. Many of them were also looking at Mengsi Niang, and others of the Nine Ancestors sect with burning eyes. That talisman is extraordinary, but unfortunately, it was targeted by the 7 demons of the South China Sea. These 7 Mahayana old demons are not easy to deal with. The Nine Ancestors sect can't keep it. Little girl, give us the talisman, and we will live in peace. Otherwise, I will eat you in one bite. A Mahayana demon who surrounded the people of the Nine Ancestors sect shouted with a green light in his eyes. The other 6 great monsters also had fierce eyes and demonic energy. This is from our 9 ancestors. Form a formation. Ren Changning shouted with a cold face. Everyone behind him formed a formation. Many divine transformation monks formed a formation, which could also temporarily resist the attack of the Mahayana monks. Delay for a moment, the other elders in the sect are coming. This is the opportunity of our 9 ancestors, and we must not give it to these monsters. Ren Changning's voice echoed in the ears of many disciples of the 9 ancestors. It also echoed in the ears of Mengsi Niang. Mengsi Niang was still a little dazed at this moment, looking at the talisman in her hand. The talisman was dazzling. The palace was broken before, and the talisman flew out directly, not going anywhere, and flew straight to her hands, which also attracted the 7 great monsters to fight for it. She didn't know whether this was lucky or unfortunate. Don't waste time talking to them, just attack directly. Among the 7 monsters, a big monster with a black tiger head roared, holding a pitch black magic knife with a monstrous black mist on it, and slashed forward. The dark mist turned into a terrifying black blade several feet long, slashing at the many disciples of the 9 ancestors. Boom. The blade light fell like the sickle of the god of death. Many disciples of the 9 ancestors held up the formation to block it. Mengsi Niang was also in the formation. Ren Changning swung his sword. Wow. A sword river that ran through the sky suddenly stretched in front of many disciples, blocking the blade light. The blade light was blocked, but the dark devilish energy on the blade light made many disciples of the 9 ancestors pale. The Mahayana cultivators can mobilize the rules of the heaven to attack. This attack penetrated the formation, and the fluctuation alone made their souls tremble. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Still want to resist? Kill. The other 6 big monsters immediately took action. Each of them controlled a magic weapon, or pounced directly on him. Most monsters are good at close combat, even if they have reached the Mahayana realm. Uncle Ren. Wen Chang, one of the disciples of the 9 ancestors, shouted anxiously. Ren Changning, the 9th ranked sword immortal? The 6 of us are holding you back. You can't keep this treasure. A monster spit out green light, which turned into green demonic fires, burning towards Jian in front. Suddenly, The 9 ancestors fell to one side, thanks to Giant's struggling support. It's over. Uncle Ren can't stop it. We are going to die here for a treasure? A group of disciples began to panic. Junior Sister Meng, don't hesitate. If you lose the treasure, you can get it again. But if you lose your life, you'll lose it. Wei Chang, who was next to Meng Xinayang, also sent a message anxiously. Meng Xinayang nodded slightly. She glanced at the back of Ren Changning, who was trying his best to resist the monsters. Uncle Ren, I don't want this talisman. Just give it to them. After saying that, Meng Xinayang waved her hand and threw the talisman in her hand away. Talisman? The tiger-headed monster immediately flew over and grabbed the talisman. Everyone in the 9 ancestors thought that if they gave up the talisman, they would be safe. Haha, the talisman is in my hand. It's really extraordinary. It should be mine. The tiger-headed monster laughed loudly, but the pitch-black magic knife in his huge claws chopped down at the many disciples of the 9 ancestors without hesitation. Without the talisman, you will still die. He was originally a monster, and his favorite thing was to hunt human cultivators. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? You still want to deal with us? After getting the talisman? The disciples of the 9 ancestors were anxious, and Meng Xinayang's pretty face turned pale, glaring at the monster. Ren Changning's swordsmanship was mysterious, and he entangled 6 big monsters alone, but many disciples behind him were in a desperate situation. It was immediately in danger, and just rushed to the edge of the palace complex. Through the sky projection, Su Dong had been paying attention to Meng Xinayang and the others. When he saw the tiger-headed monster attacking Meng Xinayang, his eyes covered by the mist turned cold. Monster, you are looking for death. Whoosh. Su Dong's figure was like lightning, and he rushed out in an instant, because Meng Xinayang and the others were deep in the palace complex. To get there from here, they had to pass through the battlefield above half of the palace. The lightning appeared in a straight line and went straight through. Chapter 207, The Mist Warrior. Su Dong. Li Xiangai was startled and immediately sent a voice message. He saw Su Dong beside him turned into golden lightning and rushed out. This was a battlefield full of Mahayan realms, and countless strong men were fighting for treasures. Just rushing out like this? Isn't that courting death? But his voice message was no match for Su Dong, who had already turned into lightning. In midair. Get out of the way, this treasure is mine. A Mahayan bull demon was swinging a pair of sledgehammers. He grabbed a golden Taoist treasure. Its nostrils were inlaid with a huge nose ring, and it was trembling with joy at the moment. Suddenly, a golden lightning came. Who is it? The Mahayan bull stared. Looking at the lightning, his original body was a green bull. He became a Mahayan early stage demon by chance, and his temperament was extremely aggressive on weekdays. In this melee, who would want to rob his treasure? Poof. But the lightning passed through its tall body directly. The terrifying lightning did not stop at all and instantly penetrated his Dantian purple mansion, and the Mahayan Yuanying also shattered and dissipated in an instant. The bull monster was stunned. The 2 hammers in his big hands fell down, and a pair of bull eyes were full of doubts and unwillingness. I'm going to die. I'm going to die like this. Who will die in my hands? Doubtful and unwilling, the body turned into a green bull and fell from a high altitude, but the pair of bull eyes were still wide open, with doubts in the eyes. The Mahayan bull monster fell and died with eyes wide open. The monks and monsters who were always paying attention to the entire melee battlefield not far away saw the golden lightning. What a terrible lightning. The blue bull died in an instant. Let's stay away. Everyone avoided the lightning. The lightning instantly shuttled and flew deep into the palace complex. It's over. We are all finished. I just came to this fairy island to try my luck, but I didn't expect to die here. The disciples of the 19th patriarch were desperate, looking at the monstrous and ferocious Mahayana tiger monster. It's all Meng Xinayang's fault. If she hadn't gotten the talisman, how could these monsters have noticed us? If she had handed it over earlier, this wouldn't have happened. A group of disciples looked at Meng Xinayang with resentment and despair. Wen Chang's face was as pale as paper. Hearing what was said in his ear, if it was normal, he would definitely stand up to defend the latter at the first time. But at this moment, he was also resentful in his heart. His body was shaking. I'm a direct disciple of Beijian Mountain. I will become an invincible cultivator of the god of transformation in just 200 years, and I will soon become a Mahayana. How can I die here? Unwilling, blaming the injustice of heaven, listening to the words in his ear, these monsters. Even if I didn't get the treasure, as long as they wanted, they would easily attack us. Mengsi Niang's face was cold. Do you still want them to be merciful? In the formation, Mengsi Niang pinched the sword formula with her hands. Choke. A fairy sword was immediately unsheathed, like a silver dragon, flying into the air. Even if she died, she was unwilling to sit and wait for death. You're looking for death. The tiger-headed monster grinned. A knife fell. At this moment, old third, be careful. Third brother, be careful. A group of voices echoed in the tiger monster's ears. HMM. The tiger monster frowned, and the long knife in his hand suddenly turned, and his tall body also turned. The huge heavenly Dao domain suddenly spread out, locking onto a lightning that was rushing towards him quickly. The golden lightning penetrated half of the battlefield and rushed towards him. This lightning. The tiger monster swung his knife, and the blade light was pitch black, and the pitch black blade light was wrapped with demon mist. He liked to use a knife, but he had never practiced knife skills. He just liked to use a knife to kill, and to use a knife to cut open the enemy's body. That feeling simply fascinated him. Therefore, his knife skills were very rough. But the speed of the Mahayana monster was still there. This knife swung down and fell right on the flying lightning. Boom. The moment the pitch black blade light and the golden lightning collided, it was like an ant colliding with a high-speed flying boat. The terrifying true essence was like a wild horse that broke free, surging and transmitting to the tiger demon's long sword, and then to the tiger demon's claws and body through the long sword. With a loud bang, the tiger demon's claws exploded directly, blood was scattered, and the armor on its huge body broke layer by layer, revealing the tiger demon's body inside, and the body also cracked, and blood was seen. Ah! The tiger demon cried out in pain, his eyes full of fear. The black mist wrapped around his body retreated violently. The golden lightning was too scary and almost took his life. Retreat, retreat, retreat. At this moment, the tiger demon had no intention of fighting. What? The other 6 big demons were also shocked. Just a face-to-face encounter, and the tiger demon with the same level of strength as them almost died? The gap was too big. Be careful, check the situation. The talisman is in hand, we can go. The 6 demons did not dare to tangle with Ren Changning and stepped back. Swish. This book has been updated recently in #@. Update. The golden lightning stopped and turned into a figure. The figure was covered with a faint mist, and his appearance could not be seen clearly, but the monstrous murderous intent emanated from him. Covered by the mist, the seriously injured tiger demon was stunned. Although there were many cultivators covered by the mist at this moment, there was only one who could seriously injure him with one blow, and he used his true energy. The 7 big demons looked at each other. The mist warrior. Is it him? Ren Changning also looked over in surprise. In addition to being surprised, he was also a little confused. Why would he come to help my 9 ancestors sect? Awesome. It's that mist warrior. The thunder demon is not his opponent. There were also cultivators around who recognized him and were amazed. The disciples of the 9 ancestors sect were even more surprised. They survived. Mengsi Niang was also stunned. She forgot the sword formula in her hand. The fairy sword above her head just stopped there. She stared at the figure in front of her, although it was shrouded in fog. Although she couldn't see the face clearly, but she was too familiar with it. This breath, this back, she was too familiar with it. It gave her light, and also gave her longing. The indomitable young man on the Black Wind Mountain. She was her only reliance and warmth in the darkness. Sudang. Mengsi Niang opened her mouth slightly, and called out the name in a weak voice that only she could hear. She was a little dazed, looking at the back in front of her. It turned out that it was so safe and warm to have him by her side. The 7 demons of the South China Sea all had hideous faces. The mist warrior should be at the same level as the thunder demon. How could he easily seriously injure the 3rd brother? Have you forgotten that the thunder demon was also seriously injured when the blood flashed, and the mist warrior must have used all his strength? Using all his strength only made the 3rd brother seriously injured? The 7 demons secretly analyzed the strength of Sudong in front of them. If it was just this level of strength, they could definitely fight. A person's reputation is like the shadow of a tree. In front of so many people, if the 7 demons of the South China Sea turned around and ran away, where would their face be? Mist Warrior, we 7 demons of the South China Sea did not provoke you. Why did you attack me for no reason? The tiger demon shouted with blood dripping from his body. The injuries on his body were recovering rapidly. Third brother, don't waste time talking to him. He just attacked you and must have wanted to snatch the token in your hand. A warrior. Humph, we brothers will attack together and kill him. The big demon with an eagle head and wings on his back roared. Yes, kill him. The 7 demons of the South China Sea roared. Sudong's hand flashed, and the 3-color blue, red, and black broken tooth long knife appeared in his hand. He waved the long knife without hesitation, and an endless blood-red wind instantly filled the 70-foot space. The blood-red wind filled the 70-foot world. Don't worry, none of you can escape. Sudong's voice resounded everywhere in the space. Chapter 208 7 Demons of the South Sea. The 70 Zhang blood-colored fluctuation storm enveloped the world. Sudong's eyes were cold, and the fluctuation of the holy domain became colder. In the coldness, the sword lights condensed. Such a large-scale fluctuation of the holy domain. The fluctuation of the holy domain is 70 Zhang. The 7 demons of the South China Sea, who were originally murderous, were shocked. They all tried their best to support the heavenly Dao domain, to resist the fluctuation of the holy domain. They had never seen a fluctuation of the holy domain covering such a large range. The large range also proved that the power of the holy domain was stronger. When it reached a certain level, it was a qualitative change. Sudong, who had comprehended the 7th level of the mystery of the wind, had a very condensed fluctuation of the holy domain. The extremely condensed fluctuation of the holy domain crushed it. The blood-colored wild wind condensed the storm. The 7 demons of the South China Sea were like 7 insects in the center of the storm. They could only know how to madly activate the heavenly Dao rule domain to resist. The fluctuations of the holy domain alone can suppress us like this? How can we fight? He has the top combat power of the Mahayana. Retreat. The 7 demons of the South China Sea panicked. Previously, they thought that Sudong would have to use all his strength to seriously injure one of them, so they were naturally brave. But now that they found out that Sudong's strength was so terrifying, they suddenly lost their desire to fight. These great demons of the Mahayana realm have survived for so long, and they are all very cautious. Want to leave? Sudong's mind moved, and blood-colored winds began to blow against him, and the 7 demons of the South China Sea could not fly. Choke. The blue, red, and black long sword in his hand was unsheathed, and the sword light flashed. A half-moon shaped sword light suddenly burst out, and the sword light shone with a blood-colored light, piercing through the void. Boom. The blood-colored light on the sword light reflected the sky, and fell on a big demon wearing a golden shell. Among the 7 big demons, his speed was the slowest. You're going to attack me first. My innate carapace is the best at defense. The big demon's green eyes saw the knife light, and the golden carapace burst out with golden light to resist. Boom. The blood-red knife light hit the golden carapace, and suddenly burst out with black and purple light circles. The space was shattered, and the black and purple space madly devoured the body of the big demon with golden carapace. The 7th level of the mystery of wind, shattering the sky. The knife light burst out. The big demon was directly blasted and rolled in the void, and cracks appeared on the golden carapace. The green eyes were full of fear. What? My carapace was almost shattered by a knife. The best thing it is the carapace defense, but it can only withstand one knife. Then if it hits another knife, its carapace will be broken. Mist Warrior, you are so powerful, let me live. The big demon shouted hurriedly. The shout resounded throughout the sky. Let you go? Dream on. Sudong snorted coldly, and swung the long sword in his hand again. This time his figure instantly shot out. Warriors are good at close combat, and in close combat, the power of swordsmanship is even stronger. Boom. The sword fell. The big monster was good at defense, but not good at escaping, so it could only support the golden light of its shell to resist. 6 brothers, come and save me, come and save me. It supported the golden light to resist, while sending a message to the other 6 monsters of the South China Sea. 7 monsters for help. Old 7. The other 6 monsters looked over. They also wanted to save, but under the influence of the fluctuations of Sudong's Saint domain, they were as slow as a snail. Hold on, I must hold on. My shell should be able to withstand his sword, the old 7 thought to himself. But Sudong chopped down with a long sword. There were layers of black and purple light rings on the tip of the sword, and he chopped down at the big monster with a sword. Puff! The long sword directly shattered the shell of the shell monster, and the black and purple sword light extended into the shell. The sword energy easily tore the shell monster's demon baby into pieces. No. The shell monster roared, and then his life was cut off. Wow. It turned directly into a shell insect-like body. Sudong directly collected some items left by the monster, and then chased the other 6 monsters with a sword. Dead. The old 7 died like that. The old 7 is the best at defense, but he died after being hit by his sword. The other 6 monsters were terrified. Whoosh! Sudong rushed over with a sword. This is in his holy domain. We can't escape. Why don't we fight him? Yes, fight him. He's just a warrior. The 6 monsters were filled with demonic energy, and they all sacrificed their own magic weapons. The 3rd tiger monster sacrificed a black magic sword again, but his position was slightly back. He was afraid of being killed before. Kill. Look at my claws. Soul control technique. For a moment, the 6 monsters in the South China Sea all used their strongest means to attack Sudong. This book has been updated recently in update. But their attacks were already weakened in Sudong's Saint domain. When they hit Sudong, they didn't have even half the power. In addition, the Saint domain's fluctuations blocked them, and their speed was even slower, so they could easily dodge. Although they couldn't dodge the soul attack, Sudong was not afraid at all. During their attack, Sudong's figure was even faster in the bloodstorm. In a flash, he appeared in front of the biggest monster standing in front of the 6 monsters. Swish! Shattering the air, Sudong used his swordsmanship without hesitation to slash down. Puff! The monster just raised the magic weapon in his hand to block it. Even if he tried his best to block it, Sudong's swordsmanship was too mysterious, and a black and purple halo appeared. He blocked it in vain, and a huge wound suddenly appeared on the monster's body, with blood dripping from the wound, and then a huge head flew up. I'm dead. The monster's head flew up, and a crocodile-like monster baby just flew out, and was instantly destroyed in the blood-colored storm. Second brother is dead too. The other 5 monsters were in pain and fear. Are they all going to die here today? Mist Warrior, have we, the 7 monsters of the South China Sea, ever offended you in the past? You must kill us all quickly. The leader of the 7 monsters of the South China Sea, a blood-colored dragon monster with a huge dragon head, roared. They came to Yijin Fairy Island just to grab treasures. There is no fight for treasures, so why kill? We don't want this token, give it to you. The 3rd tiger monster was also very sensible. With a wave of his claws, he threw out the token he had just received, and it didn't even warm up yet, and it automatically flew into Sudong's hands. The token is given to you. Can you let us go? The remaining 5 monsters of the South China Sea were eager and looking forward to it. But Sudong just glanced at the token in his hand and then killed them again. Ah, he's not going to let us go. Who is this human race? Why is he so murderous? The 5 demons of the South China Sea roared and fled in 5 directions again. The disciples of the 9 ancestors looked at this scene with emotion. Previously, they handed over the order tokens, but the 7 demons of the South China Sea were unwilling to let them go. Now, the situation has changed. Those monsters handed over the order tokens, but they were still hunted down. Stop. Suddenly, a top demon of the Mahayana roared in the distance. The demon's eyes emitted a blood-red light. He had some friendship with the demon of the South China Sea. After all, they belonged to the same demon clan, so he naturally wanted to help. Old Demon Kai, you are meddling too much. Not far from the Mahayana demon, a monk wearing a cassock and shining with golden light waved his palm casually, and suddenly a golden palm print appeared in the void, and black and purple ripples also appeared on the edge of the palm print. Sudong also saw it. The monk smiled and nodded at him. No one can save you. Die. Blood-colored air currents appeared on the surface around Sudang. As the blood-colored air currents surged, the entire blood-colored storm suddenly turned into a blood-colored space covered by blood. Ah, it's that blood-colored space. At this moment, all the cultivators who were paying attention to this battle looked over in shock, whether they were demons or humans. The Mist Warriors were able to kill the Thunder Demon and make it flee because of this blood-colored space. The blood-colored space covered everything, hiding the extremely terrified 5 demons of the South China Sea. The blood-colored space enveloped everything, and no cultivator knew what was happening inside. In less than a moment, the blood-colored space dissipated, and a figure holding a knife was suspended in the air, while 5 strange-looking monster corpses fell from the void. The corpses were all cut open by the knife light, and the Yuanying was broken. This scene made the owners of those who were looking at it suddenly become shocked and terrified. Chapter 209, third on the immortal ranking. The blood-colored space flashed again, and this time it was even more terrifying. Each of the 5 demons of the South China Sea was stronger than the Thunder Demon. Last time, the Thunder Demon only had one arm broken, but the 5 demons of the South China Sea died directly. One possibility is that the Thunder Demon has a treasure to protect its body, and the second possibility is that the Mist Warrior did not use his full strength to deal with the Thunder Demon at the beginning, and now he has revealed his true strength. At this moment, everyone can see that the blood-colored space must be a first-class killing move. Sudang looked at the top Mahayana demon who shouted for him to stop. Although there was a mist covering his head, his strength reached their level, and his perception was far more acute than his sight. The demon naturally felt Sudang's gaze. It glanced at the bodies of the 7 demons of the South China Sea that fell to the ground and snorted coldly. It turned around and turned into a blue stream of light and rushed into a palace in front. Sudang sneered and ignored it. He had realized the 7th level of the mystery of the wind, and with the performance mode increase, he was already standing at the top combat power level in the world. In addition, he had the number 2 key battle suit to protect his body, so he was naturally not afraid of anyone. Dead. The 7 demons of the South China Sea are dead. This Mist Warrior is always against my demon clan. Last time it was the Thunder Demon, this time it was the 7 demons of the South China Sea. Didn't you see that the old blue bull just died under his sword? The demon clan cultivators were all indignant. Although most of them had no friendship with the 7 demons of the South China Sea, they were still upset. I really want to kill this Mist Warrior. A middle stage Mahayana great demon with spikes on his face growled. He was far away and just looked at the projection in the sky. TSK, if you have the ability, don't talk here. Go find that Mist Warrior. I'll see if you can withstand his sword. If you can, I'll see if you can withstand that bloody space. A demon clan Mahayana next to him sneered. The great demon covered with spikes stopped talking immediately. It didn't think that its demon body was stronger than the Thunder Demon. I can't afford to offend that Mist Warrior. It's really strange. Where did such a powerful warrior come from in this human race? So scary. You don't know. I have some guesses. A warrior is so strong and has such a strong killing intent towards my demon race. There is no one else except him. The big demon laughed. Who? Mengsi Niang was still immersed in that surprise. The battle in front had subsided. What a powerful warrior. I think he is more powerful than Master Ren. A female disciple of the 9 Ancestors sect was full of admiration. Thanks to his help, otherwise we would have died in the hands of the 7 demons of the South China Sea today. These disciples transmitted their voices in disgust. Humph, you are so naive. He took action for the talisman, not to save us. Wen Chang's face was ugly, and he transmitted his voice. For some reason, he hated the Mist Warrior in front of him. But Mengsi Niang, who was not far away from him, kept her eyes on the Mist Warrior in front. This made him even more jealous. The Sudang that Mengsi Niang liked was a warrior. It can't be that Sudang. That Sudang, at most, is showing off his power in the spiritual transformation realm. How can he be comparable to the top Mahayana cultivators? Wen Chang didn't believe it. However, a figure flew over in front. Ah, he's coming. Many disciples of the 9 Ancestors sect were excited. This is a top-notch strong man. We can't neglect him. They communicated with each other. Someone also communicated with Mengsi Niang next to them. Junior Sister Meng, although this mist warrior took the token, he saved us after all. Don't mention the token. They also warned carefully. But the figure flew over, and in front of Meng Xinayang and the surprised eyes of many disciples of the Nine Ancestors sect, the two stood opposite each other. Sudong immediately stretched out his palm, and a token was placed in his palm. I'll return this token to you. Meng Xinayang just looked at the figure in front of her. What? The other disciples were shocked, staring at this scene with wide eyes. This person killed the 7 demons of the South China Sea and got the token just to return it to their junior sister Meng. Wei Chang was also stunned. He also said that the mist warrior only attacked for the talisman. Haha, I have long heard of the great name of the Jin Dynasty Sushengs. Today, Ren Changning of Beijian Mountain will remember your help in his heart. Ren Changning flew over, surrounded by a fairy sword, with a natural and unrestrained aura. Sudong of the Jin Dynasty, the disciples of the Nine Ancestors exclaimed. They had all heard of this name. Sudong couldn't help but smile, and then waved his hand to remove the mist covering his head. Now with his strength, he didn't need to hide it anymore. Sudong revealed his appearance, and many cultivators on Yujin Fairy Island saw the figure of the young man on the projection. The mist warrior was this young man. It's him, Sudong. It's true. At this moment, the entire Yujin Fairy Island was shocked and looked at the young man on the projection. Some people had speculated before, and now it was finally confirmed that the mist warrior was Sudong of the Jin Dynasty. Outside a secret cave on Yujin Fairy Island, the burly body of the thunder demon with thunder wrapped around it stood, looking up at the projection in the sky. Sudong. They all sent messages to ask me if I have a powerful body protecting treasure. Where do I have a powerful body protecting treasure? You can kill the 7 demons of the South China Sea not because they are weak, but because you are stronger. This book has been updated recently in #@. Update. Looking up, if Lei Yao was not convinced before, now he really admires Sudong in his heart. It's too scary for a warrior to improve so fast. If this goes on, I'm afraid that the human race will really have a martial god. Although it is known that it is difficult to become a martial god, there are always legends. If anyone can become one, it is this Sudong. Lei Yao was frightened and dared not appear in front of Sudong again. Outside a small palace on Yujin Fairy Island, surrounded by many evil cultivators, an old ancestor of the Wei Dynasty looked up at the young man, projected in the sky. His face was extremely ugly. This Sudong has grown so fast. He should have only the strength of the initial stage of the Great Vehicle after coming out of the Zenshin Secret Realm. It has only been a few months. How can he kill the 7 demons of the South China Sea? The 7 demons of the South China Sea are all a little stronger than him. Now that he saw Sudong again, he was afraid that he would run away. In this Yujin Immortal Island, I have to hide from Sudong, but as long as I follow Brother Yaoming, I don't have to be afraid of Sudong. The ancestor of Wei Chao thought. But the more he thought about it, the more frightened he became. He still felt that Sudong's growth and rise was too fast. After talking with Ren Changling for a few words, Sudong and Meng Xinayang flew to the side. Meng Xinayang held the talisman in her hand. Sir Su, should I call you a saint now? Meng Xinayang smiled and said, I just became a martial saint, but Xinayang, how did you become a cultivator and a spiritual cultivator? Sudong asked. This surprised him. It's my fault. Meng Xinayang's face flashed with apology. I didn't tell you before. In fact, I was originally a disciple of the Moon Palace Mountain of the 9 Ancestors. As for why I became a cultivator and a spiritual cultivator, we will talk slowly later. Sudong nodded slightly. There was a smile of reunion on his face. Both of them talked and laughed happily. It was as if the fights in the palace complex had become a foil. The disciples of the 9 Ancestors looked on with envy. Especially the female disciples. Their eyes were shining. I didn't expect that Junior Sister Meng had such a lover. He is so powerful. As soon as Junior Sister Meng stepped into the path of cultivation, she showed amazing talent. Now she has obtained the treasure token. On Yujin Fairy Island, with such a strong man accompanying her, what treasure can't she get? They were envious and jealous. Why didn't they have such a friend? Because of their long lifespan. Cultivators have long looked down on love. What they value more is cultivation and benefits. At the same time, the ranking of the Yijin fairy list compiled by the Fairy Alliance also changed. The others basically did not change, but the Misty Warrior, who was originally ranked 10th, became the third most powerful existence after the Buddhist Dao sect. The third on the Yijin fairy list was Sudang, the martial saint, the original Misty Warrior, who killed the 7 demons of the South China Sea in one fell swoop, and became famous in one battle. All forces were shocked, and even the ancestors of the Jin Dynasty who were in the Jin Dynasty were shocked. The 7 demons of the South China Sea, those were the monsters that he didn't dare to provoke. Sudang killed the 7 demons of the South China Sea. At this moment, Sudang truly stood in the ranks of the top combat power in this world. Thanks to Musiking Qinglian for the reward, and thank you for your recommendation votes and monthly votes. Thank you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Life History. This is a blessing for our Jin Dynasty and the human race. The Jin Dynasty ancestor immediately passed this news to the many true lords of the 10 Directions Pavilion, and the Jin Emperor also knew about it. From today on, the Jin Dynasty has also produced a strong man who shocked the overseas cultivation world. In Yijin Fairy Island, Li Xiangai flew to Sudang's side. He was also shocked to see Sudang. The last time Sudang fought with the Thunder Demon, he was present. It has only been a short time, and the latter directly killed the 7 demons of the South China Sea. With Sudang's mentality, he will never let the Thunder Demon go, if he can kill it. Last time he really couldn't kill the Thunder Demon, this time his strength has broken through again. Li Xiangai was amazed from the bottom of his heart. He thought that he could finally stand on the same level as Sudang after breaking through the Mahayana realm, but he had just broken through, and Sudang had killed the Mahayana realm like killing chickens. He didn't think so before, but now since Sudang surpassed him, he really felt that Sudang's progress was too fast and his rise was too fast. The height is different, and now Sudang just gave him a back view. Fly over. Li Xiangai looked at Meng Xinayang and Sudang, smiling. Especially the former. From Sudang's attitude just now, it can be seen that this woman has an extraordinary status in Sudang's heart. Li Xiangai, this is Meng Xinayang of the 9 ancestors, an old friend of Ning'an County. Sudang introduced with a smile. Old friend? Li Xiangai smiled. Xinayang, this is our Jin Dynasty Li Xiangai, who is now also a Mahayana cultivator. Sudang and Meng Xinayang said. Meng Xinayang has met Li Xiangai, and Li Xiangai's name is well known to Xinayang. Meng Xinayang bowed to Li Xiangai, with admiration in her eyes. She had also been in the Jin Dynasty, so she naturally knew how much Li Xiangai contributed to the Jin Dynasty and his status was extraordinary. Li Xiangai waved his hands repeatedly. At this time, Ren Changning also flew over. As the top Mahayana cultivator of Beijian Mountain, his status was naturally quite high. Li Xiangai also bowed and saluted. Xinayang, you got the talisman this time, thanks to Su Sheng's, so you can go and find the palace where the talisman is. Ren Changning said with a smile. Sudang was startled, not wanting to take advantage of Meng Xinayang, but Meng Xinayang glanced at Sudang and nodded slightly. The talisman was indeed recovered because of Sudang. With Su Sheng's company, it can also deter some villains. I just don't know if Su Sheng's is willing to accompany me to find treasure. Meng Xinayang held the talisman, looked at Sudang with her beautiful eyes and smiled. Sudang was immediately amused by Meng Xinayang's words. Looking at Li Xiangai, he saw that the latter also nodded. Then he said, Li Xiangai is good at formations. With him accompanying us, it will be much easier for us to find treasure. As for the opportunity treasure, Xinayang got 50% of the talisman, Li Xiangai got 30%, and I got 20%. I'm a warrior, and some opportunities have nothing to do with me. Okay, let's do it. Meng Xinayang had no objection. She also knew that Sudang was unwilling to take her chance. I have more than 30%. Li Xiangai said. The talisman belongs to Meng Xinayang, so the chance should belong to Meng Xinayang. He got too much for nothing. It's my duty. It's my duty. Meng Si Niang said. I can sense where the palace the talisman points to is. Let's go, she said with longing. Okay, let's go. Su Dong nodded. Immediately, the three of them separated from Ren Changning and others, and flew towards the depths of the palace complex. The disciples of the 9 ancestors watched from afar. They are going to look for treasures. With the protection of the Saint Su, I'm afraid they will look down on our 9 ancestors. Originally, Yugang Mountain sent her here, just to follow Master Ren to see the world. Now that she has an opportunity and a stronger backer, she naturally wants to get close to him. They talked in voice, most of them were envious and jealous, and a few people also looked at Wei Chang with an ugly face. I heard that senior brother Wei had pursued junior sister Meng in the past, but unfortunately, junior sister Meng didn't like him. That's right, with such a good match, how could she like him? In the past, Wei Chang was arrogant and thought he was of extraordinary origin. He didn't take his fellow disciples seriously. Seeing him make a fool of himself, they were all happy. Wei Chang was jealous and his face was ugly, but he didn't dare to look at Meng Si Niang and Su Dong for a long time. He just looked away. He was afraid that his eyes would make Su Dong notice something. For such a strong man, killing him would be a matter of moving a finger. In the past, he thought that being a warrior was nothing, and thought that he was the best choice for Meng Si Niang. But now, no matter how brave he was, he would not dare to compete with Su Dong for a woman. How terrible were the 7 demons of the South China Sea, but they were killed just like that. This is strength. If he offended Su Dong, the 9 ancestors would not be dissatisfied. If Su Dong killed him, he is invincible as a god. Has Su Dong killed few god cultivators? How many demons did he kill? And how many Wei Chao did he kill? Now Su Dong appeared in Yujin Fairy Island with a swagger. Who dares to come up to him? This is strength. In the future, stay away from junior sister Meng. There are many people and many gossips. If any rumors reach Su Dong's ears, it will be bad. Wei Chang thought. Men understand men best. Who knows how Su Dong is? A young man in his 20s might kill him casually when he is in a bad mood. Then he died unjustly. Wei Chang was tangled in his heart. Su Dong and the other 2 flew all the way to the depths of the palace. They were not covered with mist at this moment, but many immortal cultivators present left automatically when they saw them from afar, especially the monsters of the demon clan. Even if they were grabbing treasures, they saw Su Dong coming, and gave up the treasures, and turned around and left. Su Dong has always been very murderous to my demon clan, so it's better to hide. So, they flew all the way unimpeded, until they flew to a small palace covered with red light in a palace complex. The token in Meng Si Niang's hand was pointing here. This small palace is inconspicuous. We should be the first to come. Li Xiangai smiled. Su Dong also carefully looked at the palace in front of him. Under the red light, the palace gate was open. The ornately decorated hall was covered with jade stones that reflected the light. On the dome of the hall, there was a glazed pagoda. The glazed pagoda was hanging there, without the precious light, plain and ordinary. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Looking carefully, I felt that there was a little starlight shining. This can be seen from the outside, and it cannot be seen from the inside. Swish. The talisman that Meng Si Niang was holding flew out directly and instantly sank into the hall. Suddenly, the hall was surrounded by golden light. A series of precious lights emerged in the hall, but the red light was extinguished. Let's go in. Su Dong and the other 2 flew down. Many immortal cultivators in Yuzhangzian Island looked at the scene projected in the sky. The red light dissipated, and the precious light was revealed. There must be an extraordinary treasure. I have seen that palace before. I thought it was extraordinary, but I couldn't enter. It turns out that you need a token to enter. Su Dong is so lucky that he got this token. Many people were jealous and wanted to fight for the treasure, but they were afraid when they thought about Su Dong's terrifying strength. Forget it. I won't fight for it. I'd better find the treasure by myself. I won't fight for it, and I'm not afraid of others fighting for it. Some strong people ignored them and went to find the treasure by themselves. But there were also strong people who flew towards this side. Su Dong, humph. Su Dong and the other 2 entered the palace. The sky projection could only see them entering, but could not see the scene in the palace. Li Xiangai walked in front, studying the formation in the palace, while Meng Xiniyang and Su Dong were slightly behind. Xiniyang, now you can tell me what happened to you in the past 2 years. You have become an invincible cultivator. Su Dong smiled. Yes. Meng Xiniyang smiled. But you have to keep the secret for me. Of course. Su Dong smiled and nodded. Meng Xiniyang smiled sweetly. Actually, I'm not a human. I'm a half demon. My father is an ordinary person, but my mother is a phoenix demon. So, I have demon blood in me. Half demon? Su Dong nodded slightly. He had long guessed that there were both demons and humans in the Nine Ancestors sect, and many of them were half demons who were adopted and trained to become immortals. Half demons are also good. There are good monsters too, Su Dong said with a smile. Hearing this, Meng Xiniyang's pretty face, which seemed to be a little nervous, also showed a relaxed smile. Then she continued, I have lived with my father since I was a child, but later. She told her life story, and Su Dong listened beside her. As she listened, the distance between them felt a lot closer. Chapter 211 Glazed Pagoda. Meng Xiniyang has the blood of monsters. When she was young, her family suffered a great disaster and she became blind. Later, she was adopted by the grandmother of Yugang Mountain, and became one of the many half-monsters adopted by Yugang Mountain. Because her family suffered a great disaster, she had a knot in her heart. The grandmother of Yugang Mountain allowed her to walk in the secular world, but did not cure her eyes. She only taught her medical skills, and taught her the method of the Holy Heart. Later, after the incident with the black-windowed monster, she accidentally obtained the golden ring in a derma lucidum, and Meng Xiniyang's eyes were restored. Because her eyes were restored, the grandmother of Yugang Mountain felt that a secular practice was enough, so she taught her Taoism and allowed her to enter the Mengai cave mansion of Yugang Mountain for a treat. Then, there was a legend that Meng Xiniyang entered the Mengai cave mansion 3 times and became an invincible cultivator of the god transformation. This deed also refreshed the record of the achievement of the god transformation level in Yugang Mountain. After listening to it, Su Dong couldn't help but nod. It is said that Yugang Mountain is good at cultivating immortals. It seems to be true. The Holy Heart is clear. This Yugang Mountain grandmother is really extraordinary in teaching her disciples. The most important thing in cultivating Taoism is the heart. He also taught Zheng Dashu and found that Zheng Dashu had a lot of demons in his heart. Even Pingu said that Zheng Dashu was very young and had a big heart knot when she first saw him. However, he has never been able to get rid of it. I'm afraid it will become a big problem in the future. Just like the Yugang Mountain grandmother, Meng Xiniyang took the initiative to enter the secular world to experience and gain experience. Although she was blind, she could better understand the changes in people's hearts. With a holy heart, once she embarked on the road of cultivating immortals, she would naturally have a smooth journey. With the magical Mengai cave, she was even more powerful. The grandmother is unfathomable, her cultivation is unparalleled, and she has also inherited the inheritance of the heavenly Dao immortal, but she was stuck at the last step. Then she could transcend the world and become a real immortal. Meng Xiniyang smiled. Su Dong was silent. Become a heavenly Dao immortal? According to the 7th void god of the Yan clan, this world is flawed, and it is impossible for a heavenly Dao immortal or a void god to appear. He thought to himself. But he did not say it out loud. This news should not only be known by him, but it has not been spread out. But, suddenly, a heavenly Dao rule domain spread out above the hall. Su Dong and the other two looked up, and looked at the small glazed pagoda on the dome of the hall. The glazed pagoda looked ordinary, with 7 floors and a green color. As they approached, it then emitted an invisible spiritual light, which enveloped them, and they immediately realized that this glazed pagoda was extraordinary. What a magic weapon. It can actually emit the heavenly Dao rule domain. Su Dong and the other two's eyes lit up at the same time. Su Dong was even more direct, and the invisible holy domain fluctuations spread out immediately. The tyrannical holy domain fluctuations enveloped and crushed past, and the invisible fluctuations spread to the pagoda above, produced a series of nothingness ripples. This is the collision of the holy domain fluctuations and the heavenly Dao rule domain. Su Dong comprehended the 7th level of the mystery of heaven and earth. The sanctuary fluctuations had already condensed to a new level, easily covering it. The invisible sanctuary fluctuations directly enveloped the pagoda. He wanted to pull the pagoda down from above. The glazed pagoda was suspended on the dome, just like that, and the surface of the glazed pagoda was glittering with a faint light. He maintained the swaying glazed pagoda, but no matter how Sudan pulled it, the glazed pagoda remained motionless. Huh. Sudan frowned. This glazed pagoda was obviously just floating there, with no support. How could it not be pulled down? You guys step back a little. Sudan whispered. Li Xiangai and Meng Xinjiang stepped back more than 10 meters. Boom. A layer of blood-colored space suddenly emerged, and the performance mode increased. The sanctuary fluctuations seemed to condense into a substantial space, covering Sudan and the glazed pagoda. Buzz. The space was trembling at this moment. In the blood-colored space, Sudan looked at the glazed tower that was swaying above him. His blood-colored space acted on the glazed tower, causing it to sway constantly. Layers of green light flickered on the surface, flickering rhythmically, but it still did not fall from above. Wow. The blood-colored space dissipated. Li Xiangai and Meng Xinjiang came over, and they looked at Sudan with a surprised look on their faces. What the hell? What kind of magic weapon is this? Sudan was surprised. He shook his head and looked at the two helplessly. No way. I can't get it down. I'll try. Maybe there is a formation. Li Xiangai took a step forward, emitting golden auras all over his body, and at the same time, golden light burst out from his eyes, and layers of mysterious formation runes emerged and flashed from Li Xiangai's body. Li Xiangai entered the tower with formations. In this world, in terms of formation attainments, Li Xiangai is probably ranked in the top 3. Layers of golden light enveloped the tower, and runes were wrapped around the tower. Buzz. Suddenly, the glazed tower, which had been able to remain calm, suddenly emitted colorful rays of light. The light was dazzling, and gathered into a river of spiritual light. The river surrounded the tower like a ribbon. Is there hope? Sudan's eyes lit up. He had just used all his strength, but the glazed tower did not change at all. Li Xiangai had just broken the formation. He encountered such a strong resistance. It was really a formation. The formation was mysterious and vast, and Sudan admired it very much. It was like the technology on Earth in the past. Technology created a civilization, and brought many changes that he could not imagine. Just like the mobile phone in his Dantian, it was one of the products of technology. He could use a mobile phone, but he couldn't study one. The same reason. In his opinion, the formation was the technology of this world, and the storage bag was also a product of the formation. The formation was mysterious and profound, which was one of the reasons why Sudan admired Li Xiangai very much. I like to practice martial arts, but if I were asked to study the formation, I would be in a state of panic. Sudan thought to himself. The two of them watched. This book has been recently updated on #@. Update. Golden runes entangled Li Xiangai's body, and the golden aura of the field of heavenly rules enveloped his whole body, resisting the 7-color rainbow river on the glazed tower. Boom, boom. With 2 roars, 2 7-color rainbow lights suddenly fell from the glazed pagoda, falling directly on Li Xiangai. Not good. Sudan's face changed, and he raised his finger and pointed forward, and suddenly 2 blood-colored knife lights burst out. They collided with the 2 7-color rainbow lights in the air. Once they collided, the 4 lights disappeared and disintegrated instantly. Li Xiangai flew back, and the aura of the heavenly rules on his body dissipated. There was a palpitation on his face. The 9th formation? He looked up, and looked at the glazed tower, his eyes full of disbelief. The reason why magic weapons are powerful is because they contain formations. The more formations, the stronger the power. The number of formations contained in this magic weapon is completely beyond Li Xiangai's cognition. With so many layers of formations, no one below the heavenly Deo Immortal can break this formation. Li Xiangai was surprised. It's a good magic weapon, but it's a pity that we can only look at it and not take it. Let's go somewhere else to have a look. Sudan said. He and the other 2 had tried it, and since they couldn't get it, they just let it go. Well, this hall is very big, and there are side halls inside, and there are many treasures in the side halls. I just saw the treasure light. Li Xiangai also calmed down and said, "How about you try it, Si Niang?" Sudong suddenly smiled at Meng Si Niang. Both of them failed, and only Meng Si Niang hadn't tried. Me? Forget it, you can't take it down, let alone me. Meng Si Niang shook her head. Li Xiangai also smiled casually. That formation is indeed mysterious. Unless the heavenly Dao immortal takes action, and is an immortal who is good at formations, otherwise, it will be difficult. Li Xiangai sighed lightly. Then let's go. Let's go. The three of them gave up the glazed tower, and walked towards the depths of the hall. This time, Li Xiangai walked in front, Sudong in the middle, and Meng Si Niang at the end. When Meng Si Niang walked past the glazed pagoda, there was a buzz. The glazed pagoda, that was originally hanging steadily on the dome, suddenly emitted a stream of light, and then it shook gently, and turned into a stream of light. It fell directly in front of Meng Si Niang. Meng Si Niang felt a flash in front of her eyes, and there was already an exquisite glazed pagoda in her hand. Sudong and Li Xiangai both noticed the fluctuation, and turned their heads to look over. When they saw the glazed pagoda in Meng Si Niang's hand, they were both petrified. This, Li Xiangai and Sudong looked at each other, and saw the astonishment and confusion in each other's eyes. The glazed pagoda, that both of them could not handle, fell directly into Meng Si Niang's hands. Is this the legendary treasure that belongs to the virtuous? Chapter 212 Side Hall. Thanks to the #1 fan for the reward, thank you. Meng Si Niang was also stunned. Si Niang, the talisman flew to your hand automatically at the beginning, and now this glazed pagoda has automatically fallen into your hand. It seems that this palace treasure is indeed destined for you, Sudong said with a smile. Li Xiangai also nodded. The world is so wonderful. Look at what kind of magic weapon this pagoda is. It should have many wonderful uses, Li Xiangai said. Meng Si Niang then carefully studied the pagoda in her hand, easily recognized the master. Immediately, Meng Si Niang urged her magic power to enter the pagoda. Suddenly, a layer of 7-color rainbow light was reflected from the pagoda. The pagoda shone with 7-color light. The 7-color light contained the rules of heaven, and enveloped Meng Si Niang, forming a shield. There were many heavenly spiritual symbols wrapped around the shield. Heavenly rule field. Sudong and Li Xiangai looked at each other. They both saw the amazement in each other's eyes. Meng Si Niang is only in the stage of transformation of spirits now, but she can possess the realm of heavenly rules. This glazed pagoda is indeed a good treasure. Meng Si Niang activated the glazed pagoda. Her consciousness sank into it. Although she recognized the master, she could only activate the outermost formation of the pagoda, and could not activate the deeper magical functions. But this was already extraordinary. I have a feeling that there seems to be a space in this pagoda, but I can't get in. Meng Si Niang was secretly shocked. The pagoda is extraordinary, but her strength is low, and she can't activate it completely now. In the glazed pagoda, there is a white world. In this world, there is a phantom standing in the white world, wearing a white dress, with a beautiful face, but there is a hint of coldness in her eyes, looking at everything outside coldly. 100,000 years, 100,000 years, I finally waited for a suitable successor, with a clear mind and strong comprehension. Although he is imprisoned by this small world and cannot transcend, I can help him, which is enough. When she chose a successor, she naturally wanted the top genius in the world, the immortal of the heavenly way, who valued comprehension the most. Obviously, it was amazing enough that Meng Si Niang became an invincible cultivator of the spirit transformation within 2 years. After waiting for a long time, he finally appeared. 100,000 years, I finally waited. My husband, you said that, as long as you are alive, there is hope, and the Feng Lao lineage will not be cut off. Never. You said that life and death will not be separated. You said that the world will not be broken, and you and I will not be separated. In the white world, this figure burst into tears. After watching Meng Si Niang display the power of the pagoda, the three began to search for treasures in the hall again. When they walked towards the side hall, whoosh, 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 3 figures flew into the palace at the same time. After landing, they stood up separately. The leader was a Taoist priest, and the one who was a little behind was a big monk. The figure behind them was completely shrouded in black fog. Sudong and the other two also turned their heads to look. Master Pussy of the Buddhist sect, Link Suzy of the Taoist sect, and the one who was surrounded by black fog is Xiaoluo of the Evil Wind sect. Sudong glanced at the three people. The voice of Li Xiangai came to his ears. The Tao revealed the identities of the three people. Sudong nodded. He also looked at the projection in the sky and naturally saw these people. According to the information previously obtained by the Immortal Alliance, the location of this palace should be the most important treasure land of Yijin Immortal Island. This palace has a big secret and should have top level immortal weapons. Don't miss it. The three also looked at Sudong and the other two in front. Link Suzy was slightly indifferent, while Master Pussy smiled. Xiaoluo of the Evil Wind sect was covered with a layer of black light. The pagoda finally fell into the hands of the Nine Ancestors' daughter. Behind the black light, Xiaoluo of the Evil Wind sect sneered and shook his head. Sudong was indeed young and full of vigor. He actually gave away such treasures to others. How foolish. With the power of treasures, he could get any kind of beauty. He was still too young. If it were him, the love between men and women would be shit in his eyes. Sudong, there are so many side holes here. Let's find one first. Li Xiangai whispered. There are so many side halls, and we can't occupy them all. Okay. Sudong ignored the three people who rushed in, and they walked towards the side hall first. Separate. I'll go to that side hall. Master Pussy and the other two also separated. They just happened to arrive at the same time, but they were not in the same camp. Sudong and the other two walked into the side hall, and they saw a room with smoke rising. There was a table, and an incense burner was placed on the table. The smoke was lingering in the incense burner, which was really extraordinary. Next to it, there was a long sword emitting purple light. In addition, there were many treasures scattered around. Sudong and the other two were all brightened when they saw it. Be careful, there are so many treasures, and there may be a killing array. Sudong reminded. He thought of Feng Laoyulan's reminder that there were treasures everywhere on Yijin Fairy Island, but most of them were traps left by his mother. I'll break the formation. Li Xiangai took the first step. A golden array of Taoist talismans surged out of his body. It spread to the entire side hall, and suddenly, the hall was rumbled. Bang! A muffled sound rang out, and Sudong and Meng Xinayang only saw that the incense burner, the long sword, and the many treasures in the hall suddenly burst out of the space in front of a thin and long silver needle. The silver needle was shining, and exuded a terrible evil spirit. It appeared and then disappeared. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. What a terrible trap. That silver needle, can I block it when I wear the number 2 key battlesuit? Sudong was secretly shocked. Okay, there are no more array traps. Let's get the treasure. Li Xiangai smiled. Sudong and Meng Xinayang looked at each other. Thanks to Lord Li for breaking the formation. Otherwise we would be seriously injured, even if we took the treasure. Sudong said with a smile. I already have this pagoda. You can choose these treasures first. Meng Xinayang also said. I'm afraid that both of you. I alone can't come here. Don't be modest, just find the treasure that suits you. Lord Li shook his head and smiled. It's too late, and others will take it away. Sudong and Meng Xinayang nodded. Meng Xinayang walked towards a pile of scattered treasures, and Sudong walked towards the floating purple longsword. Lord Li glanced at the two of them, and then walked towards the incense burner placed on the table. He understood that the two of them also saw that this incense burner was the best treasure in the hall, and deliberately gave it to him. He didn't say anything, but secretly remembered this friendship in his heart. Sudong walked towards the long sword floating in the air, emitting purple light. As he approached, the fluctuations of the holy domain on his body suddenly spread. It easily covered the long sword. As soon as his mind moved, a suction force spread along the sanctuary fluctuations to the long sword. The long sword wrapped in the sanctuary fluctuations trembled suddenly, and the purple light on the surface kept flickering, and then it immediately flew into Sudong's hands. This time it was easy to get it. Sudong couldn't help but smile. The previous attempt to take the pagoda left him with a big shadow. He held the long sword emitting purple light in his hand. The long sword was cold and heavy. The blade was thick, and he liked the shape very much, but he tried to transport the true essence into it. But the true essence was transmitted in, but it was like a mud cow in the sea. There was no ripple. This longsword is also a magic weapon of the immortal family, but it is far beyond all the magic weapons I have seen, and it is also a sword shape. Sudong flipped his hand. The longsword emitting purple light disappeared immediately. It was put into the sacrificial furnace in the Dantian mobile phone. The sacrificial furnace application in Dantian's mobile phone was opened. The tooth-breaking knife covered by the blue, red, and black light was suspended above, while the long knife emitting purple light was in the furnace below, rolling up and down, and there were bursts of wailing. In the hands of a cultivator, it could be regarded as an immortal weapon far beyond the magic weapon, but in Sudong's hands, it was directly sacrificed. This long knife can appear in the palace of Yijin Fairy Island. The material must be extraordinary. Yijin Fairy Island is the fairy palace of a big family in the Void Kingdom. Unfortunately, he is not a cultivator. What he cares about is the material of this long knife. To what extent can the tooth-breaking knife be improved? Wow. The purple long knife was thrown into the furnace, and the furnace rose and burned. In this terrible high temperature, wisps of purple light spots floated up and continued to gather on the tooth-breaking knife above. The tooth-breaking knife, which originally emitted a blue, red, and black luster, immediately trembled slightly after absorbing the purple light spots, and then the purple light covered it. It was like a purple light cocoon, completely covering it. No matter how powerful the broken tooth knife is, my swordsmanship can be even more powerful. Sudong looked at this scene and was secretly happy. In another side hall, Xiaoluo of the Evil Wind sect looked at the jade slips in front of him. This side hall actually stores classics, opportunities, great opportunities. The black mist dissipated, revealing a feminine face, a pair of slender eyes emitting red light. Excited. Wow. He directly reached out to take the classics. Puff. A silver light suddenly flashed. Instantly penetrated Xiaoluo's eyebrows. Chapter 213 Dark Passage. Puff. A flash of silver light penetrated Xiaoluo's brow. Xiaoluo's eyes dimmed in fear for a moment, but then lit up again. What a powerful killing array. This silver needle attacks both my body and my soul. Unfortunately, it can't kill me. I practice the immortal Evil King's magic formula of the Evil Wind sect. How can I die so easily? He sneered and put away all the jade slips on the table. After seeing it, his eyes suddenly became brighter. The Taoism of the Heavenly Dao Immortal level. Oral Taoism of the Heavenly Dao Immortal level? Xiaoluo was ecstatic. This was his great opportunity, and the great opportunity of the Evil Wind sect. With this magic formula, my Evil Wind sect will be the #1 sect in the world in the future. What righteous and evil sects, in the future, regardless of righteousness and evil, my Evil Wind sect will be the only one in power. Xiaoluo was full of confidence. In another side hall, Taoist Ling Zuzi put away many elixirs in the hall, and there were needle marks everywhere on his sleeves. The face that was originally indifferent was also full of excitement. Immortal pills, elixir. With these immortal island elixir, our Dao sect has the foundation to face any disaster. The harvest is huge. This palace is worthy of being the most important treasure of Yijin Immortal Island. In other places, at most there are some inheritances of heavenly immortals or some treasures that make the heart of the transformation stage. The treasures here are what they, the top Mahayana ancestors and the giants of a party, really value. Similarly, Master Pussy of the Buddhist sect also gained a lot. He often smiled, and now he is even more smiling. It seems that he is the one who gained the most. Sudong, there are a lot of spiritual essences here, all of which can prolong life. Meng Xinayang specially found a lot of spiritual essences among the scattered treasures. Here you go. She threw the storage bag to Sudong. Thank you. Sudong was not polite. He put away the storage bag and opened it. There were nearly 80 spiritual essences, most of which were 4th grade spiritual essences, followed by 3rd grade spiritual essences, and the least were 2nd grade spiritual essences. As for 1st grade spiritual essences, there was no 1st grade spiritual essence. 1st grade spiritual essences are probably considered treasures in the void. Sudong thought to himself. Among the spiritual essences that Feng Laoyulan left behind, there was only one 1st grade spiritual essence. He remembered that there were spiritual essences planted in the palace before, but whether it was a 1st grade spiritual essence remains to be studied. Each of them took the treasures from this side hall. Sudong got a purple longsword and many spiritual essences, and Meng Xinyang got a few small magic weapons and Taoist talismans. Li Xiangai took the incense burner and a scroll. Although the number was the smallest, Li Xiangai had the biggest harvest, especially the scroll, which was originally hung on the wall behind the incense burner. When they came in, their attention was attracted by the incense burner, but they didn't notice the scroll behind the incense burner. When he took the incense burner and looked at the scroll, he was attracted by it all of a sudden. He was good at formations and could tell at a glance that the scroll was about the top formations. He was instantly obsessed. He excitedly took the scroll away. Yijing Immortal Island. He came to the right place this time. Not only did his strength break through the Mahayana realm, but he also had many opportunities. Of course, many cultivators died on the island, and those who were in the Mahayana realm fell, but those who were not dead naturally had amazing gains. After taking the last treasure, the three of them walked out of the hall. At a glance, they saw three people who also walked out of the other side halls. Everyone glanced at the side hall they walked out of. Since it had been explored, there was no doubt that there was nothing in the side hall. Seeing that the Saintsu was smiling, he must have gained a lot. Congratulations. The smiling monk Master Pussy looked at Sudong and smiled. He was the strongest person on the scene, ranking first on the Yijing Immortal list. But at this moment, he took the initiative to make friends with Sudong. Sudong nodded and smiled. Master, you should have gained a lot. It's just a small harvest. We need to take a look. Master Pussy said bluntly. I think everyone will not leave now. Let's take a look together. Ling Zuzi also said. His face was indifferent. He spoke indifferently. Xie Luo of the Evil Wind sect did not say anything. At this moment, the top 3 in the Yijing Immortal list in the hall were all righteous people, but he was an evil cultivator, so he was naturally very low-key. Although Sudong was in the Jin Dynasty, he was well known for his good deeds in killing demons. He was not only ruthless to monsters, but also to evil cultivators. He killed many evil cultivators in one breath in the Zenshin secret realm. It's better to be low-key in front of Sudong, Xie Luo said in his heart. He didn't want to make enemies with Sudong for no reason. Okay, let's go and take a look together. The group walked forward. They passed through the corridors in the hall. Then, they saw a huge stone door, and behind the stone door was a dark passage. The pitch black passage was dark and cold, as if even the light was swallowed up, and it looked deep and vast. With the appearance of this pitch black passage, the temperature in the hall also dropped sharply. Even the breath exhaled condensed into mist in an instant. Fortunately, the weakest of the people present was an invincible cultivator of the spiritual transformation realm, and could still withstand this low temperature. This stone gate passage is extraordinary, and there must be real treasures inside. Master Pussy whispered. Xie Luo of the Evil Wind sect said nothing, but he was eager to try. He was born with an evil character, and was not afraid of taking risks. Ling Zuzi of the Dao sect, who was the most indifferent, was a little hesitant. I have already obtained many immortal pills and treasures. If I continue to venture out, won't it all be in vain? If I encounter danger, if I send the treasures back and come back, but by then, the treasures will probably have been taken away. He hesitated. Forget it, go. This palace is the most important part of Yijing Fairy Island. There were so many treasures in the side hall before, not to mention this pitch black passage. Go. Ling Zuzi decided instantly. After practicing for a long time, he had long been accustomed to adventure. Although he seemed calm, he was actually fearless and crazy. Sudong looked at the dark passage. This dark passage is indeed extraordinary. I have the number 2 key battle suit to protect my body. I can go in, he thought. But suddenly, Meng Xinyang's voice transmission rang in his ears. This book has been recently updated in #at. Update. Sudong, I just had a palpitation. This dark passage is very dangerous. Don't go. Meng Xinyang's voice transmission said anxiously. Sudong looked back, but saw that Meng Xinyang's eyes were full of anxious concern. His heart could not help but warm up. At this time, Li Xiangai also looked at Sudong. The voice transmission said, Sudong, I have gained a lot, so I will not go into this dark passage. He gave up directly. Sudong also nodded in understanding. After all, Li Xiangai had just become a Mahayana, and his strength was indeed slightly low among these people, so he was not suitable for adventure. After the voice transmission, Li Xiangai stepped back. Master Pussy looked back and said, Master Li, there are treasures in this passage. Aren't you going to go in? We cultivators are timid. How can we prove our truth to heaven? Master, I only know that only by being content can we live 100 years. Master Li smiled. We can live more than 100 years. Wouldn't it be better to fight for immortality? Master Pussy smiled. Anyway, we are going in. After saying that, he strode in. Xie Luo and Ling Zuzi also went in. Su Dong smiled. He turned around and walked aside with Master Li and Meng Xinayang. Xinayang, take this brocade bag and keep it with you. Su Dong handed an ordinary brocade bag to Meng Xinayang. The latter was puzzled and opened it to take a look. Seeing the items inside, she became even more puzzled. Are you still going in? Meng Xinayang was anxious. Yes. Su Dong nodded. You go with Li Xiangai. You are carrying treasures and opportunities at the moment. Don't stay. Leave Yijin Fairy Island directly. With Li Xiangai here, nothing will happen. If something happens, send a message to me immediately. I promise to be there immediately. Su Dong said confidently. But Meng Xinayang was still worried. The source of her palpitations was this dark passage. Don't worry, this dark passage is not very dangerous for me. Su Dong smiled. I have already passed through the Zenshin secret realm, let alone here. He smiled. Xiangai, be careful. Send me a message if there is any danger. Okay, you should be careful too. Li Xiangai nodded. There are dangers and great opportunities. He understands Su Dong. Yeah. Su Dong nodded, looking at the concern in Meng Xinayang's eyes. His heart warmed slightly, and he turned around and walked into the dark passage. Feng Lao Yulan said that her mother left behind treasures and opportunities, but also dangers. This woman is a lunatic. Su Dong thought, and his body had already stepped into the dark passage. Meng Xinayang looked at the dark passage, feeling extremely anxious, but she also understood that opportunities require risks. She just held the brocade bag tightly with a pair of jade hands. And in her storage bag, in the world of glazed pagoda, in the vast white world, the lonely and cold figure looked at the outside world indifferently. The storage bag could not block her prying eyes. Greed. She snorted coldly. Girl, I have given you a hint. You can't pull your lover back. It's just that he is too confident. Su Dong walked into the dark passage, and the view in front of him suddenly opened up. There were a series of corridors. The corridors were winding, but Su Dong felt familiar when he saw it. Huh. This is Chapter 214 Trap. Su Dong flipped his hand, and a command arrow fell into his hand from the storage bag. The command arrow was simple in shape, and at this moment it emitted golden light. The golden light entangled on the surface of the command arrow and a hexagonal route map emerged. At first glance, the route in the route map was exactly the same as the winding corridor that appeared in front of Su Dong at this moment. So the command arrow map points to here. Haha, with this route map, I can easily find the treasure. This is my chance. Su Dong chuckled, glanced around, and the holy domain fluctuations were released. I didn't notice that Master Pussy and the others had gone far away. This corridor is complicated. Without a route map, I'm afraid it will take some effort. Su Dong smiled, and then took a step, following the instructions on the command arrow map, and walked forward. After passing through a corridor, he disappeared. At the same time, Ling Zuzi, who walked into the dark passage, passed through a corridor. The corridor was deep and cold. He walked over and carefully checked every place to find the treasure. There were so many elixirs in the side hall before, and that was just one side hall. The other 3 side halls must have more treasures. It would be even better if I took the treasures of that side hall alone. My Dao sect can become stronger. Ling Zuzi thought as he walked. It's not that he didn't consider taking action to seize the treasure. The weakest of the people in the hall before was Meng Xinayang of the 9 Ancestors sect. Li Xiangai of the Jin Dynasty had just broken through the Mahayana realm and was far worse than him. Both of them got a lot of treasures. Meng Xinayang got the most conspicuous pagoda in the hall, and Li Xiangai took the initiative not to enter this dark passage. Obviously, he had a lot of gains. However, knowing that the two people were carrying treasures, he couldn't make a move. With Sudan here, don't even think about taking advantage of those two people. Unless I join forces with Xiaoluo and Pu Zhi, the bald donkey, otherwise, there is no chance at all. Ling Zuzi sighed lightly, thinking about Sudan's bloody space and the fluctuations of the holy domain. At their level, the most feared thing is not fighting, but being trapped. If it is difficult to escape from being trapped, then death is not far away. The fluctuations of Sudan's holy domain were so terrifying that the 7 demons of the South China Sea could not even leave. The blood-colored space flashed, and 5 demons died instantly. He could not help but be shocked. Only if the 3 of them joined forces would there be a glimmer of hope, but they were not in the same camp, so it was impossible to join forces. Pu Zhi, the bald donkey, even took the initiative to show goodwill to Sudan. It is said that the Taoist and Buddhist sects are the leaders of the righteous immortals, but the two sects actually fight fiercely because many of the cultivation resources and precious places in the righteous path are occupied by them. Where there are conflicts of interest, there are struggles, and the relationship is naturally not very good. As for the Immortal Alliance is a very extraordinary organization. The Immortal Alliance does not recruit disciples, but only members to fight against evil cultivators together. Therefore, most people in the righteous path will be recruited and invited by the Immortal Alliance, just like Ling Zuzi and Pu Zhi, who are also famous in the Immortal Alliance. Ling Zuzi thought as he walked towards the corridor ahead. As soon as they entered the dark passage, the 3 of them separated. The corridor was rugged and winding, and they all took different routes. Master Puzzy. Ling Zuzi turned a corner and suddenly saw a figure in front of him. It was Master Puzzy, who was wearing a cassock and smiling. Master Puzzy also saw him, and there seemed to be a flash of surprise in his eyes. Brother Link Su, you also walked here? You and I are really destined. Master Puzzy smiled. Ling Zuzi's face was very indifferent, and he nodded slightly, looking behind Master Puzzy. Since the latter came from that side, there was naturally no need to explore. Master Puzzy, see you later. Ling Zuzi turned around and walked towards another corridor. But at this time, a wisp of cold wind suddenly blew, and Ling Zuzi suddenly felt a warning. After all, he was a top Mahayana cultivator, ranked 2nd on the Yijing Immortal ranking. Feeling uneasy, he immediately turned into a stream of green light and immediately flashed to the side of the corridor. Whoosh! Ling Zuzi turned around and saw a long shuttle flashing with evil black light flashing past the place where he was standing before, passing through the corridor, and actually brought out black and purple ripples in the space, and then disappeared. Soul-breaking shuttle? Ling Zuzi's scalp tingled, and he instantly looked at Master Puzzy, staring at the latter with eyes wide open. He never expected that the latter would suddenly attack him. There was no treasure here. Old bald donkey Puzzy, you claim to be a righteous Buddhist. You actually use this evil magic weapon. You are still good at sneak attacks from behind. A good magic weapon is one that can kill you. Hand over the treasure you got in the side hall before, and I will spare your life. Master Puzzy still had a smile on his face, as if the soul-breaking shuttle was not sent by him before. You want to kill me? Do you think you can kill me? Ling Zuzi was incredulous, looking at Master Puzzy, as if he were a madman. They were both at the same level, both were top Mahayana. Although he might be a little weaker in a head-on confrontation, it was enough to save his life. HMPH, it's naturally impossible outside. The only problem is that you entered this passage. Master Puzzy still smiled gently, and a command arrow suddenly appeared in his palm. The command arrow was simple and exuded strange rune fluctuations. Suddenly, the surrounding corridors changed and squeezed towards Ling Zuzi frantically. Ah, you can control this corridor? Ling Zuzi was shocked. Looking at the corridor in front of him squeezing in, he held up his Heavenly Dao Rule Domain, but the Heavenly Dao Rule Domain was squeezed down as soon as it touched the corridor. Unstoppable. Before in the side hall, you got the treasure, but I only got this command arrow. Once I refined it, I immediately knew its wonderful use. HMPH, as long as you come in, all the treasures are mine. Master Puzzy sneered. His face was no longer kind, and he showed a fierce look. He was the one who advocated entering this dark passage the most. Only by entering would he have a chance. Otherwise, he would get nothing. Boom, boom, the corridor squeezed past, and Ling Zu's face turned pale. I'm screwed. This time I was screwed by this old bald donkey. No, I was also screwed by the owner of the palace. He deliberately guided me. No matter who gets the command arrow, they will do the same. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Everything is a trap. The danger in the side hall is not a danger at all. The real danger is here. Old bald donkey, this time it's my bad luck. I'm screwed. Under the squeeze of the corridor, Ling Zuzi snorted coldly, and then a green Taoist talisman appeared in his hand. As soon as the Taoist talisman appeared, it was crushed directly. Puff. A flash of green light passed by, and Ling Zuzi's figure disappeared. Only a pile of clothing, storage bags and other items were left in the corridor. The immortal talisman, that disappears thousands of miles away. You're lucky. Master Pussy waved his hand, collected the many treasures scattered on the ground, and took a look. The kind smile suddenly appeared on his face again. This old bastard has really gained a lot. It should not be just what he got from the side hall before. The Wanli No Trace talisman can only allow your body to move thousands of miles, but it cannot take away your clothes and magic weapons. This Link Suzy is the first one. The next one is Xiaoluo and Sudang. I came in first, but I guess he should come in. Whether he comes in or not, I will take action. If he comes in. If he doesn't come in, I will take the treasures of Link Suzy and Xiaoluo, and then get this Black Passage treasure, and this trip will be truly complete. Then, he will be the biggest winner. Master Pussy smiled, turned around, and walked through a corridor. These corridors changed with his control. In another place, Sudang followed the map of the command arrow, and walked through the corridors one by one. He came to a huge palace. At the end of the corridor was this palace. This palace is so big, comparable to the Yan family palace. Sudang looked at the palace in front of him. The whole palace was golden, and looked much more majestic than the Yan family palace. Sudang walked over, and the arrow in his hand emitted golden rays. Suddenly, the palace gate opened, and Sudang stepped in. This was an extremely vast hall, probably hundreds of meters high, and the stone pillars in the hall were extremely majestic. Sudang walked in, and looked extremely small. In the hall, there were kneeling figures, each of which had turned into bones, most of which were human-shaped, and a few were monster-like. In front of them was an incense table, and on the incense table was a scroll. The scroll showed a man in armor. Although it was just a scroll, Sudang only took a look at it, and he felt his eyes go dark, his legs went weak, and he wanted to kneel down. Chapter 215, The Vast Void. What a terrifying spiritual energy. This scroll actually contains spiritual energy. Sudang was surprised, and quickly looked away. He dared not look at the scroll anymore, but he was extremely shocked. This was the first time he felt someone else's spiritual energy. He also mastered spiritual energy, but after breaking through the spiritual level of the martial master level, this spiritual energy has never improved. And because there is no way to practice, Sudang did not study it much. Unexpectedly, he felt such a terrifying spiritual energy here. These corpses are kneeling to that figure. Who is that figure? Buzz. A wave emanated from his chest. Sudang was immediately surprised. The seed that had been quietly staying in his clothes on his chest suddenly emerged from his chest and emitted a strange light. This strange light enveloped the seed and intersected in the hall. Slowly, those strange lights formed a milky white translucent figure. It was a graceful figure, as if the most beautiful adjectives in the world were not enough to describe her beauty. Even if it was just a phantom, it was still breathtakingly beautiful. She was wearing a white robe, and tears were falling from her crystal eyes. Father, Zir is here. The beautiful figure looked at the figure in the painting in front of her, and her eyes were full of longing, sadness and pain. Father? Sudang stared at the shadowy woman in front of him. He had already guessed the identity of the man in the painting. According to Feng Lao Yulan, the entire Yijing Immortal Island was his mother's immortal residence, and this immortal residence was given by his father Feng Lao Yu. The man in the painting, except for Feng Lao Yu, there was probably no one else. But this shadowy woman actually called the man in the painting father. The shadowy woman knelt down in the air and just looked up at the painting. tears falling, whispering to herself. The language she spoke was very strange. Sudong vaguely felt that he could understand it, but he didn't quite understand it. After a moment, the shadow stood up and turned around. Sudong. The shadowy woman looked at Sudong. Her eyes were calm, but there was a hint of shyness. Who are you? Sudong looked at the woman in front of him in confusion. After meeting Feng Laoyulan, he felt that this woman was somewhat similar to Feng Laoyulan, but completely different. This seed was given to him by Feng Laoyulan, and he was asked to take good care of it. I'm very grateful that you can bring me to my father's temple and see my father for the last time. I'm really relieved. The shadow woman bowed to Sudong and thanked him. Originally, I was going to wait for a while before meeting you, but I have waited for you for too long, a long time. 100,000 years. I waited for 100,000 years, and finally waited for you. Sudong was stunned. You waited for me for 100,000 years. He didn't quite understand what the shadow woman meant. You mean you waited for me for 100,000 years? Does that mean you knew I would come 100,000 years ago? Yes. The shadow woman nodded and looked at Sudong's chest. 100,000 years ago, my master deduced that my family would encounter a disaster, so he asked me to use the void reincarnation talisman immediately and reincarnate, so I escaped. The shadow woman was extremely respectful. Master, that is a supremely powerful person who is incomparable and incomparable in the vast void. Even time stops in front of Master, and the void is eclipsed. Master is incomparably great. He deduced my calamity and also deduced my turning point. 100,000 years later, a man will appear and take me away. The shadowy woman looked at Sudong. 100,000 years later, you appeared. So, Sudong, I should go with you. I have been waiting for 100,000 years, waiting for you. There was apology, shyness, fear, and worry about strangers in the shadowy woman's eyes, but more of it was determination. It can be seen that this shadowy woman should not be very good at socializing with people. Sudong did not comment. He tried to use the luck compass to lock the shadowy woman, but the luck compass could not lock it at all. You said your master is so powerful, why didn't he save your family and let you fall to this point? Sudong asked in confusion. If there is such a strong backer, that person just made a move, and the Feng Lao family would not end up like this. The shadowy woman shook her head slightly. Don't blame master. In the Void Kingdom, the strong are everywhere, and there are rules and regulations. Even a great being like master has checks and balances. It is enough for him to give me hope and let me escape the disaster of reincarnation and the void. The rest depends on me. Come here, I'll show you something. The shadowy woman floated in the air and flew towards a corner of the huge palace. Although Sudong was puzzled, he followed her. He could still feel the kindness emanating from the shadowy woman. In addition, he had promised Feng Laoyulan before that he would take good care of this seed. Who knew that this seed was actually a person? The shadowy woman flew in front, and Sudong followed behind. They came to a corner of the palace, where a crystal box was placed. Put your palm on this crystal box, and naturally you will know everything. Sudong glanced at the shadowy woman, then nodded slightly, and put his palm on the crystal box. Suddenly, the crystal box burst into brilliant light. The light was colorful, and gathered into countless information streams, which were transmitted to Sudong's mind. In an instant, Sudong seemed to see countless shining points of light in the vast void. The world converged into a river, and the rivers of heaven and earth intertwined and swirled, filling the entire void. In each long river of heaven and earth, countless lives emerged. These lives are of various kinds. Some are similar to human forms, some are like monsters, and there are all kinds of strange lives. Countless lives. Some are strong and some are weak. This book has been updated recently in Update. The powerful ones can cover the whole world with one hand, and can stir up a long river of heaven and earth with a flip of the hand. A long river of heaven and earth established a country, and the small world he was in was also in a long river of heaven and earth, belonging to the edge of a void country. There are countless strong people in countless void countries. Sudong had previously known that above the void god, there are heavenly gods and world gods, and above the heavenly immortals, there are heavenly immortals and world immortals. The world gods and world immortals are enough to destroy a small world. But above the world of gods and immortals, there are more terrifying strong men, the God King, and the Immortal King, who control a long river of heaven and earth. Further up, there are the God Emperor and the Immortal Emperor. The real overlord of one side establishes a country and becomes the master of the void country. Like Feng Lao Yu, that is a God Emperor. You can compete for the master of the void country. And this is not the end. Just like the master mentioned by the shadow woman, he can deduce the past and the future, can make time stagnate, immortal, great and eternal, and is called the real Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. Truly invincible. Holy Spirit Void Ancestor, supreme infinite life, ordinary heaven and earth, can be turned into nothingness in front of Void Ancestor at a glance, and ordinary life can be easily transformed into a wisp of air between heaven and earth in the eyes of Void Ancestor. Sudong suffocated. Even if it was just a stream of information, when Sudong knew the existence of that kind of strong man, he still had a suffocating and desperate feeling of an ant looking up at a giant. Suffocating and desperate, but blood boiling. Is that the real world of the strong? Is that the real void? He held his breath, completely held his breath. Sudong was truly enlightened by absorbing so much information, and of course, he also understood what the shadowy woman in front of him was. Reincarnation in the void, changing the starting point of talent. So this is it. He opened his eyes. The colorful light on the crystal box gradually faded. Sudong looked at the shadowy woman next to him, and the latter also looked over. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Feng Lao Rongzi, the sister of Feng Lao Yulan whom you have seen. You can call me Feng Lao, or Rongzi. In essence, I'm not a living creature. I'm still wandering between half life and half death. I need your help. Feng Lao Rongzi said. Of course, I will also give you enough in return. Sudong was silent. Chapter 216, Divine Kirin Jin. Chapter 51 is at the end of the previous volume. The editor has been contacted and is waiting for a solution. I'm willing to help Feng Lao Rongzi until she leaves on her own initiative. I will never betray her. We will live and die together and never leave each other. Sudong made a vow to Feng Lao Yu's scroll. Whoosh, at the moment, when Sudong made the vow, a stream of purple light suddenly burst out from the originally peaceful scroll. The stream of light instantly penetrated the space and reached Sudong. Sudong had no time to dodge, and the stream of light had already sunk into his heart. Take good care of her, take good care of her. A faint voice resounded in his heart, and Sudong was slightly distracted. The voice seemed to be able to easily erase his soul. In front of this voice, he couldn't help trembling. That is, Feng Lao Rongzi floated over, with apology and gratitude on her beautiful cheeks. Sudong, thank you, that is my father's spiritual imprint. There is my father's residual spiritual power in this scroll. No one below the level of the God Emperor can disobey it. Feng Lao Rongzi said. But as long as you don't break your oath, this spiritual mark is useless. Oh. Sudong nodded slightly. Recalling the previous voice, that voice was full of longing and love. Feng Lao Yu must have loved Feng Lao Rongzi very much when he was alive. Now I can give you a treasure. Feng Lao Rongzi smiled sweetly. You should accept this divine unicorn gene first. This is what I asked for from my master. I wanted to use it, but unfortunately I didn't have the chance to use it later. The white-robed Feng Lao Rongzi waved his hand, and a small golden ring flew out of the body intertwined with the phantom. Sudong took it, and looked at the golden ring. There are many ways to improve the level of blood in the void. The most common one is to absorb high-level genes. It is said that there are also strong people who can directly seize the body of others for use, but this is against the way of heaven. When you reach the level of God Emperor, the soul and the body are united, and the seized body needs to be abandoned. Without a body, you can never become a God Emperor Immortal Emperor. Feng Lao Rongzi said. Sudong took the golden ring in his hand, and immersed himself in it with a slight movement of his mind. Suddenly, a golden space appeared in front of him. The golden space was not big, only the size of a normal house. In this space, there was only a drop of golden blood suspended. Although it was only a drop of blood, it was entangled with a terrifying evil spirit, emitting a terrible aura. It was as if Sudong saw not a drop of blood, but a peerless beast. Sudong, don't underestimate this drop of divine unicorn blood. This is a drop of essence containing all the divine genes that my master, a great being, personally extracted from the blood of a divine unicorn at the level of a world god. As long as you absorb it, not to mention that you can raise your bloodline to the level of a divine unicorn. It is also extraordinary. Feng Lao Rongzi said excitedly. The divine Kirin is a creature that is at the overlord level in the void. It is born at the level of a void god and can become a realm god when it reaches adulthood. If the strong in the void knew that you had the blood gene of the divine Kirin, not to mention you, even this small world would be destroyed. So you must keep it secret. Sudong was secretly shocked. This drop of blood was so precious. Feng Lao Rong's master was also very powerful. He extracted the divine Kirin gene at the level of a realm god for Feng Lao Rongzi to use. This was the benefit of having a good master. This was more valuable than any treasure. You are too low level now and cannot absorb the divine Kirin gene. However, it is the blood of a realm god after all, and it has been refined by my master. You can also study the many traces contained in it carefully. Maybe it will touch you. When you become a void god, you can absorb and refine it. Feng Lao Rongzi said. Sudong understood. When he looked at the golden blood in the ring again, he was no longer as shocked as he was at the first sight. He did see many mysterious runes and mysteries. They were all the ways of heaven and earth that he had never seen or heard of. In addition to this divine unicorn gene, there are other treasures. If you hadn't come here, it would be fine. Since you are here, just think of it as something my mother left for you. Feng Lao Rongzi smiled, and her shadowy body turned and flew towards a corner of the majestic hall. After a while, Feng Lao Rongzi flew over with a storage bag and a golden seal. She threw it to Sudong casually. Sudong took it. The storage bag had a huge space, storing many talismans, classics, and many magic weapons. In terms of the number of magic weapons alone, it was far more than all the magic weapons in the side hall before. If you get my treasure, you will be subject to my karma. Once you enter Feng Lao, you will worship in the void. A cold female voice echoed in the storage bag. Sudong's heart moved. Is this the voice of the crazy lady? Sudong sighed in his heart and also suffered this karma. As for the golden seal, what is the use of this seal? Sudong looked at the seal in his hand. The seal was surrounded by golden light, emitting layers of light. It was a powerful magic weapon at first glance, but unfortunately he was not a cultivator and could not activate it. This seal is called the Heaven Suppressing Seal. You also saw the sky projection in Yijing Immortal Mansion. That is one of the many magical effects of the Heaven Suppressing Seal. However, Yijing Immortal Mansion uses the Great Heaven Suppressing Seal, which cannot be broken by the Void God, while this one is a small Heaven Suppressing Seal, which can guard and monitor one side, and can form a trap to protect one side. This small world has a defect. You cannot practice Taoism when you become a warrior. When you reach the Void, you will comprehend the Great Heavenly Dao. By then, even if you don't practice the Heavenly Dao Immortal Path, you will comprehend it a little. Naturally, you can activate the magic weapon. Feng Lao Rongzi smiled. In the big world, even warriors also practice some Taoism, and cultivators also practice powerful martial arts. They complement each other, just in order of priority. Good baby. Sudong nodded. And those classics, they are all the many cultivation methods that my father collected at the beginning. The highest one can be cultivated to the 9th level of the heavenly god. You can comprehend and learn from them. It will help you to comprehend the mysteries of heaven and earth. Sudong, I still say that you must remember that your advantage is your comprehension. Comprehending more mysteries of heaven and earth will benefit you in every way. Feng Lao Rongzi said. I understand. Sudong nodded slightly. Then he looked at Feng Lao Rongzi. Feng Lao, you gave me so many treasures. Is there anything I can do for you? Sudong only took the benefits and felt embarrassed. If you want to help me, grow up quickly. Feng Lao Rongzi smiled. She waved her hand, and a golden flying boat suddenly emerged from her palm. This world cannot help you become a void god, so we will take this void god ship to the void. Once we are in the void, we will find a suitable world to help you break through, to become a void god. However, to operate this void god ship, you need to have at least a level close to the power level of the mysteries of the world. In other words, you must comprehend a mystery of the world to the 8th level, and to become a void god, you must also have the idea of becoming a god. When everything is ready, it is worth going to another world, to become a void god in one go. Fenglao Rangxi said. This book was recently updated on @ update. Sudong suddenly realized. It turned out that Fenglao Rangxi had already planned everything for him. It's different when someone cares about the arrangements. As soon as he finished speaking, the stream of light wrapped around Fenglao Rangxi's body disappeared, and then he turned into a seed again, emitting a faint spiritual light, and flew into Sudong's chest. Sudong. A voice rang directly in Sudong's mind. Huh. Sudong was startled. Usually, the sound transmission only sounded in his ears, but this voice sounded directly in his mind. Don't be surprised. This is telepathy. You just made a vow. This is the spiritual bond of life, cause and effect. No matter when and where, no matter how far apart, as long as the cause and effect continue, you and I can telepathically communicate. Fenglao Rangxi explained. Oh. Sudong nodded slightly, but still felt a little awkward. Okay, let's go. Fenglao Rangxi's telepathy sounded, and at the same time, she silently looked at the Fenglao painting in the hall, and a voice came out. Father, I'm leaving. Don't worry, they will pay the price, they will. The voice was very low, but Sudong naturally heard it clearly. He moved his lips and said nothing. There were some things that Fenglao Rangxi didn't tell him more. Obviously, he was not qualified to know, so there was no need to ask more. Let's go. Sudong stepped out of the hall. In the corridor outside, Master Pussy held the command arrow in his hand, and there was a blood stain on his cassock, but that blood stain was not his. That damn Xiaoluo, he was so cruel and insidious when he fought back before his death. He is indeed an evil cultivator. Damn it. Master Pussy looked grim. He used the command arrow to trap Xiaoluo of the evil wind sect. The latter had no magic weapon to escape. He struggled before his death. Master Pussy was almost killed. But in the end, Xiaoluo still died. I have walked so many places. Could it be that Sudong really didn't come in? Forget it. I will go to the end of the command arrow map to find the treasure. Master Pussy shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He had gained a lot this time and was the final winner. It was enough. Master Pussy walked along the corridor. The corridor was rugged and winding, but he walked through it very familiarly and turned a corner. Master Pussy was stunned and stopped. He was so sensitive that he noticed a slight movement in an instant. It was very slight, but there was still movement. Suddenly, a figure turned from the corner, and then the figure's footsteps also stopped. Looking at him with surprise. Master Pussy. Sudong was surprised and immediately noticed the bloodstains on the latter's robes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217. Yours is my younger brother. The chapters were out of order yesterday, and the 51st chapter was at the end of the previous volume. It's being processed. Sudong's heart moved. From the looks of it, Master Pussy had a fight with someone. Sudong. Master Pussy shouted, his eyes bursting with light. Really, he was so lucky. This Yajin Fairy Island was simply his blessed land. I thought Sudong hadn't come in the end, and he couldn't find him in all the corridors. Unexpectedly, he met him here. He appeared face to face in front of him. It was such a coincidence. Be careful, this monk has a strong murderous aura. Feng Luring, who was hiding in Sudong's chest, transmitted his voice through his mind. When Master Pussy looked at Sudong, his eyes were filled with surprise and pity. Sudong, don't blame me, blame yourself for your bad luck. Master Pussy waved his hand, and a simple golden arrow appeared in his left hand, and a purple gold zen stick appeared in his right hand. With his body as the center, golden auras burst out and enveloped the surroundings. Pussy, are you going to attack me? Sudong couldn't help but smile, looking at Master Pussy in front of him. In the past, Master Pussy always greeted him with a smile, but he didn't expect that he would attack him directly when they met this time. blame him for being unlucky. It's not certain who is unlucky. The ranking of Yujin Immortal list can't really explain anything. Yes, I'm going to attack you. Link Suzy, that old bastard, escaped with his life. Xiaoluo has died in my hands, and you are the last one left. As long as I get the treasure on you, I will have no regrets. Pussy sneered, full of confidence. With the command arrow in his hand, he has an absolute advantage in this passage. I'm the last one left. Sudong was stunned. Then he suddenly realized, I originally thought that this Buddhist monk was also a man of extraordinary character, but I didn't expect that he was still lost by the treasure. What's 6 pure roots in front of a big enough benefit? He couldn't help it. In that case, let me see what methods you, the great monk, have. Sudong smiled, and the holy domain fluctuations on his body spread out, and the blood-colored airflow instantly filled the entire passage. TSK, you still want to do it? Unfortunately, you don't have a chance. Poo Zhi grinned. Wow. The command arrow in his hand burst into a burst of golden light. The golden light was dazzling, and the surrounding corridors suddenly made a rumbling sound, moved, and pressed towards Sudong. I have the final say here. You have no hope at all. Poo Zhi was full of confidence. Control the passage? Sudong was surprised. Yes, before in the side hall, you all got treasures, but I got nothing, only this command arrow. Poo Zhi sneered at Sudong. It's better to get this command arrow. As long as you come in here, all the treasures will be mine. Sudong, you are a warrior, and you have grown so terrifyingly at such a young age. If you continue to practice, I'm afraid you will really become a martial god. Poo Zhi was extremely arrogant. If you become a martial god, won't the glory of my Buddhist sect be overshadowed by you? It's better to get rid of you as soon as possible. Master Poo Zhi felt that he had a sure win. 2 consecutive successful precedents gave him strong confidence. At this moment, in his eyes, Sudong was just a fish on the chopping board, ready for him to slaughter. He really wanted to kill Sudong. Sudong grew up too fast. It was fine if he was in the Jin Dynasty, but this time he appeared overseas and was so popular that he was almost as popular as the old-fashioned cultivators. How could they tolerate this? If Sudong really rose again, he would probably break the balance of power between the world. His Buddhist sect could no longer dominate the righteous cultivators. So that's how it is. Sudong took a look at the command arrow in his hand. This command arrow, it has such a wonderful use. He thought it was just a map before, but he didn't expect it could control the space here. Sudong, don't worry. The command arrow in the monk's hand is just a secondary fairy command left by my mother. The one in your hand is the main fairy command. To be honest, even if the fairy house is not open, you can come in with this fairy command. Feng Larangzi telepathically transmitted. Everything was set up by her mother. After Feng Lao died, her mother fell into madness and didn't even know that she was still alive after reincarnating from the void. Feng Laoyulan never saw her mother again until she died. Even Feng Laoyulan said that her mother's character had changed drastically and warned Sudong that the treasures left in the fairy palace were all traps. Sudong also sighed that this crazy lady was indeed good at scheming. There were treasures and opportunities, but at the same time, many people had to be buried with her. To get treasures, one must have both mental strength and luck. Sudong, die. After you die, all the treasures and opportunities will be mine. Rumble. Poo Zhi manipulated the channel to squeeze Sudong madly. You are the one who will die. Sudong smiled. He looked at Poo Zhi. Swish. With a flip of his palm, a golden arrow suddenly appeared in his hand. With a slight movement of his mind, golden runes emerged from the golden arrow. As the runes emerged, the wall of the channel that was originally squeezing towards Sudong turned around and crushed towards Poo Zhi. You also have an arrow? Poo Zhi was shocked. His face, which was originally confident of victory, suddenly turned pale. He frantically urged the arrow in his hand, which was his greatest reliance, but the surrounding walls of the channel still squeezed towards him. It easily crushed his heavenly Dao rule domain, like a cage that trapped him. Only a gap was left. Because it was full of strange formations, he couldn't get out of the gap. Is your command arrow higher than mine? Poo Zhi was stunned. At the same time, he controlled the channel, and the channel squeezed towards him instead. Yes, mine is the elder brother, and yours is the younger brother. Sudong looked at him with a smile. The younger brother is naturally not as good as the elder brother. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. Pooh Zhi's face was ugly, as if he had eaten dog shit. He looked at the channel that was squeezing around him in despair, and then threw the command arrow in his hand away, and even smiled awkwardly. Congratulations, I didn't expect that Su Sheng had such a treasure in his hand. This opportunity and fortune are much greater than this poor monk. The fortune is destined by heaven. I admire it. These treasures should belong to the saints. Su Sheng, please accept them. Pooh Zhi even reduced the storage space of a storage bag on his waist and a jade pendant in his sleeve, and threw them out through the gap. The gap does not block items. Saint Su, all the treasures and opportunities are yours. I was wrong before. I was obsessed with greed. Saint Su, for the sake of my orthodox Buddhism, please forgive me this time. Pooh Zhi said. Sudong put away the treasure. Pooh Zhi, you are a Buddhist monk after all, so shameless. I was confused for a while. Saint Su can beat me or punish me. Please spare my life. Pooh Zhi smiled. He didn't care about his face at all. You said I was unlucky before. If I met you, you would kill me. Sudong looked at him. It's my bad luck. I was blinded by lard. Saint Su killed demons and eliminated evil, and he is a role model for our generation. The way of heaven is also favoring him. Pooh Zhi knelt on the ground in a hurry and said, Lord Su, you are generous and kind. Please spare me. How shameless. Sudong shook his head and looked at the purple gold staff next to Pooh Zhi. Give me the staff. Oh, and the string of Buddhist beads hanging around your neck. I see that the rosary in your hand is also extraordinary. Hand over the staff, Buddhist beads, and rosary, and I won't kill you. Pooh Zhi was stunned. These are all my treasures. He gritted his teeth. The purple gold staff was the top magic weapon he got when he came to the fairy island, far superior to the first grade magic weapon. The Buddhist beads are the top spiritual objects of Buddhism, which can help people concentrate on cultivation. Just hand it over like this. If you don't want to give it up, forget it. If you want to kill me, I'll just kill you and take the treasure. Sudong smiled, raised his hand, and a blood-colored knife light suddenly floated in front of him. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Pooh Zhi shouted. Immediately, he resisted the reluctance and pain, and handed over all the treasures. Well, not bad. Sudong waved his hand, and put all the treasures into the storage bag. Pooh Zhi's face twitched as he watched this scene. He felt extremely regretful. How could he have run into Sudong? He was so unlucky. He was so happy before, but in the blink of an eye, he ended up like this. Really, the greatest joys and sorrows in life are nothing more than this. Su Sheng, you can't kill me if you take my treasure. Pooh Zhi said nervously. Don't worry, I'm too lazy to kill you. Sudong turned around and left along the corridor. Pooh Zhi was anxious when he saw this. He kept shouting, Saint, Saint, you haven't let me out yet. He was still squeezed and trapped by the corridor. I said I won't kill you, but I didn't say I would let you go. Just stay here. Don't worry, as long as you don't commit suicide. Don't you cultivators have a long lifespan? Live well here. Sudong left without even looking back. Sudong. Pooh Zhi sat in the prison-like corridor and roared wildly. Will he stay in this cage for the rest of his life? Exclamation mark. It would be better to just kill him. Chapter 218 Joining Forces. Sudong ignored the roar behind him. This Yijing Immortal Palace is covered by a formation. Unless you break through to the heavenly Dao Immortal, you'd better stay here. Unfortunately, this world is flawed and destined to be unable to become an immortal. Pooh Zhi will never get out. You might as well kill him directly instead of dealing with him like this. Feng Lao Rong Zhi sent a message in Sudong's mind. I promised not to kill him. How can I regret it? Sudong shook his head. Feng Lao Rong Zhi was speechless. But thanks to Pooh Zhi, thanks to him, I have become the one who has gained the most in this trip to Yijing Immortal Island. Sudong smiled happily. Chance, really luck is extremely important. 4 people entered the dark passage. He did not fight or grab, but became the final winner. Be careful, that happiness will turn into sorrow. Feng Lao Rong Zhi joked. Let's go out. Sudong walked along the passage and walked out of the dark and deep stone gate. Seeing the familiar palace scene, his heart became much brighter, and he looked back. He immediately walked out of the palace. Above the palace complex of Yijin Fairy Island, the treasure hunt has ended. Some of those who got the treasure left, while others stayed here confidently. Above the side hall of the palace complex, a group of strong men gathered. Ling Zuzi was floating in the air in a Taoist robe, with a golden and silver sword suspended above his head. There was a faint flash of lightning on the sword, and it was entangled with terrible fluctuations. He was shrouded in a terrible aura, and no one dared to approach. A few dozen meters away from him, there stood a tall young man wearing blood-colored armor, with blood-colored hair and blood-colored veins on his cheeks, like a standing beast. His whole body exuded a bloodthirsty and barbaric aura. Next to this tall young man, there was a tall and thin figure, covered in a silver-white robe, but with a strange mask on his face. The eyes behind the mask were revealed, flashing with a dark cold light. The eyes were full of evil and coldness. Zuzan, look at Ling Zuzi. He really suffered a great loss this time, and he has to join hands with you and me to kill Pu Zhi. The silver-white robed figure said in a feminine and cold voice. What righteous leaders, monks and Taoist priests, they are all bullshit. For the sake of treasures, why don't you do it anyway? Yao Ming, you have always controlled the Wei Dynasty, and you have gained a lot this time. I also have some ideas about the Wu Kingdom. One day I will also let my demon sect go to the Wu Kingdom to develop well, and try the feeling of controlling a country. The voice was filled with terrible deterrence, coming from the mouth of the tall figure in blood-colored armor. That depends on whether you can beat those old guys in the Immortal Alliance. Yao Ming sneered. On Yijin Immortal Island, many cultivators watched this scene. Countless eyes were gathered in this projection of heaven and earth, looking at Zuzan and Yao Ming talking and laughing. Ling Zuzi's murderous aura surged. The demon sect's bloodlord, Yao Ming, and the Taoist Ling Zuzi, these 3 have joined forces. I heard that they are going to deal with the Buddhist Master Pussy. It's because Master Pussy tricked Ling Zuzi during the treasure grab in the side hall. Ling Zuzi gave up everything and used the Wanli Wuzang talisman to escape with his life. How can we be willing to accept such a grudge? The Buddhist abbot is coming to save the situation. The evil king of the evil wind sect is also coming. I heard that Xie Luo fell and died at the hands of Master Pussy. Master Pussy is fighting against demons and defending the way this time, and he has also avenged the righteous way. Many immortal cultivators watched and discussed from afar. This is a big storm that will sweep away the top sects and strong men of both the righteous and evil ways. Sudong was in the palace. Just as he walked out of the side hall, he suddenly stopped and flipped his palm, and the talisman of the Venerable appeared. Sudong. The voice of Prime Minister Li came from the talisman. Prime Minister, did you get out safely? Sudong asked with a smile. Don't worry about us, we are very safe. I'm glad you are okay, Sudong. You must be careful of Master Pussy. That Master Pussy even attacked Ling Zuzi of Dao sect. Xie Luo of Zifeng sect should have fallen in his hands. You must be careful. Li Xiangai sent a message. Sudong smiled. Don't worry, I'm fine. Master Pussy, he is now confined to reflect on his mistakes. Well, when you come out, be careful too. Ling Zuzi, Zuzan of Demon Sect, and Yao Ming, the top evil cultivator of Mahayana, are waiting outside the side hall at the moment, ready to join forces to deal with Pussy. Don't get affected. Li Xiangai warned. Sudong was stunned for a moment. It seems that Pussy, the old bald donkey, has caused a lot of trouble this time. But it has nothing to do with me. These people, they won't fight with me for no reason. I can teleport directly to Sinayang. Sudong thought. But he shook his head. Wouldn't it make me look afraid of them? Just a few top Mahayana. Thinking of this, Sudong also sent a message to Li Xiangai, letting him rest assured, and he would go out. Sudong, you have killed many evil cultivators in the past. Aren't you afraid of trouble? Li Xiangai was worried. This book has been updated recently in .. Update. He was worried, but he couldn't help. This level of battle was not something he could intervene in, nor was it something the Jin Dynasty could help. Don't worry, by the way, Xiangai, this time I found a good treasure for our Jin Dynasty. In the future, our people in the Jin Dynasty will no longer have to worry about monsters. Sudong smiled. Is there such a good treasure? Li Xiangai's voice changed. He knew Sudong's character well, and he would never talk nonsense. Well, it's the biggest treasure in this Yijing immortal mansion. Sudong nodded. He was talking about the Town Heaven Seal, which covered the entire Jin Dynasty, could generate a golden mist formation for protection, and could also monitor the entire Jin Dynasty. With this effect, no monster would dare to enter the Jin Dynasty in the future. Good. Li Xiangai was pleasantly surprised. He watched Sudong rise to prominence, and he didn't admire others, but he admired Sudong very much. When others get treasures, they think of themselves, but Sudong really has the people and the country in his heart. When he gets the treasure, the first thing he thinks of is to protect the country. Then you have to be more careful. Mengxi Niang and I are on the outskirts of the fairy island. Many Mahayana ancestors of the 9 ancestors are here, and our Jin Dynasty ancestors are here too. Li Xiangai warned. You are carrying a treasure. Be careful. I understand. Sudong nodded. In his heart, he couldn't help but think of the many worlds in the vast void. After receiving a lot of information in the void, his vision also changed. At this moment, perhaps in the eyes of Li Xiangai and others, the top Mahayana realm is the highest point in this world. But in Sudong's eyes, it is just a small world life that is not as good as the heavenly Dao immortal and the void god. Different vision, different mentality. Sudong didn't take those strong men in the outside world seriously. If they don't deal with him, it's fine. If they deal with him, then they will have a good fight. Extremely confident. Feng Lao Rongzi felt that Sudong had the qualifications to be confident. In her eyes, Sudong was the one with the best talent and the qualifications to strive to climb higher. Others? They didn't even have this qualification. Cut off the communication. Whoosh. Sudong flew out directly. In the sky above the palace. Ling Zuzi, Zuzun, Yuming. In the projection of the sky, many immortal cultivators watched. A figure flew out, and everyone looked over. Isn't it Master Pu Zhi? It's Sudong. It's Sudong of the Jin Dynasty. Everyone was shocked. Ling Zuzi, Zuzun and Yuming were all shocked. Chapter 219 The Terrifying Blade Light. He's not dead. Ling Zuzi looked at the figure flying out of the palace in surprise. How could Pu Zhi, the bald donkey, let him go? Is it Sudong? Yaoming and Zuzun looked at each other and saw the coldness in each other's eyes. This Sudong has always been against my Wei dynasty, and I unexpectedly met him here. He must have got a lot of treasures when he came out of that palace. Yes. The two secretly communicated. Sudong, I ask you, have you seen Pu Zhi? Ling Zuzi asked coldly with the magic sword suspended above his head. Sudong glanced at him. This Ling Zuzi is just an unlucky guy. Sudong glanced at him and turned around and flew away, ignoring Ling Zuzi directly. Ling Zuzi's face suddenly became ugly. The people watching the projection in the sky were even more surprised. Obviously, Sudong didn't take Ling Zuzi seriously at all. Yes, the strong have the majesty of the strong. Ling Zuzi shouted like that. Unless the strength difference is very large, no strong will pay attention to him. Sudong, you want to leave after taking the treasure? Stay. In the void, Zuzun and Yuming attacked at the same time. Zuzun's palm turned completely blood red. When the blood-colored palm was swung out, a blood-colored palm print suddenly condensed between heaven and earth. The blood-colored palm print was covered with Taoist patterns, and each pattern exuded a terrifying bloody aura, crushing directly towards Sudong. Yuming's eyes burst out a dark light, which instantly penetrated the space and attacked Sudong. The two top Mahayana masters attacked at the same time. Zuzun, this Sudong is extraordinary, don't hide it. Yuming also transmitted a voice, kill him directly. After killing him, the treasure will be distributed between you and me, and we will use our own methods. Don't worry, Zuzun sneered. You and I will join forces. I don't believe he can withstand it. Let's do it. Yuming and Zuzun attacked at the same time. Then can Sudong withstand it? How shameless. The Jin Dynasty ancestor, Li Xiangai and Meng Si Niang also saw it. His face suddenly changed. In midair, Sudong, dressed in a black robe, looked at the sudden attack. Bloodlord, Netherworld, you are so brave. Sudong shouted angrily. At the same time as Bloodlord and Netherworld took action, he immediately used the 7th level of the Mystery of Wind. The blood-colored wind enveloped the range of 70 feet of heaven and earth, and at the same time, the performance mode was turned on. The blood-colored space emerged. Suddenly, the overwhelming blood-colored airflow swept out. The mighty posture actually turned the 70-foot world into a blood-colored world. Boom, boom. The attack came. The blood-colored handprint and the black light bombarded the blood-colored space. Wherever the attack passed, black and purple veins were left in the sky, and the space was trembling. These two attacks, one contained extremely terrifying spiritual power fluctuations, and the other tended to attack the soul level, weird and insidious. Even the top Mahayana cultivators did not dare to underestimate it. The two attacks swept past, and landed directly on the edge of a blood-colored space that covered the sky and the earth. Boom. The violent spiritual power exploded directly on the surface of the blood-colored space. The surging spiritual power quickly spread and fiercely drilled into the blood-colored space. However, the violent spiritual power impact only lasted for a moment. The blood-colored knife light flashed in the blood-colored space, which completely and mercilessly washed away the two terrible attacks. The blood-colored space was like a giant, standing firm, and the blood-colored color was thick, covering the entire world. Sudong, who was standing in it, had a gradually cold expression. He had expected that the two people might not be able to help but attack, but he did not expect that they would be so direct and the means were so fierce. Only he knew how powerful the attack that the blood-colored space had blocked before was. After the Bloodlord and the Netherworld joined forces, they faced the power of the attack at the same time, which obviously increased the difficulty by several levels. However, it was only able to slightly shake his blood-colored space. But that's all. Sudong stretched out his palm. In the blood-colored space, a long sword flashing with blood appeared in his hand. Swish. Sudong used the sky-breaking slash-sword technique to chop at Zuzan and Yuming. Zuzan and Yuming saw the sword light bursting out from the blood-colored space, and they were relaxed and indifferent. This sword light is not powerful enough to shake the space. It's embarrassing to use it. Just like their level of attack, it can easily cause space changes, the earth and the sky tremble, and derive black and purple ripples or traces. But Sudong's sword light is just blood light. It is easy to judge the power. The sword light is extremely fast, and it arrived in front of Zuzan and Yuming in the blink of an eye. The two did not dodge and used Taoism to block it. But when their Taoism touched the sword light, they saw that the sword light, which was originally covered with blood light, suddenly changed from the original blood red color to completely black and purple. The black-purple blade light suddenly burst out with a powerful devouring force and sharp edge, like a dead tree and rotten wood, directly destroying and tearing apart the blocking Dao method. This book has been updated recently in Update. Not good. This blade light. It seems that the actual black-purple sharp edge is rippling in the space of hundreds of meters, as if a black-purple storm is sweeping across the entire plane. Zuzan and Yuming are not far away, and Ling Zuzi, who still has a cold face, is shocked. In surprise, black-purple light flashed. Puff, a head with long blood-colored hair and a head with a mask, flew into the sky. In an instant, Yuming and Zuzan, the two top Mahayana cultivators, were beheaded. But in an instant, a head grew again on their headless bodies. The eyes of the growing heads were full of horror and fear. This, so strong? Didn't they say that Sudong's bloody space is terrible, and his swordsmanship is so terrible? Both of them panicked. The bloody space is powerful, they can choose not to enter, but his swordsmanship is so terrible. Is the sword light so powerful when he just swings it? He was obviously not so strong in the past. Netherworld growled. In the past, it was so difficult to deal with the 7 demons of the South China Sea, and he used the bloody space. If his swordsmanship is so powerful, why would he use a bloody space? If it weren't for their immortal nascent soul, they would have died just now. It's because of his sword. Didn't you notice that his sword is different? It used to be 3 colors, green, red, and black. Now it has completely turned into blood color. Zuzan was suddenly startled and said, "A powerful magic longsword. The power of the swordsmanship is doubled. If I get this sword?" Netherworld and Zuzan were shocked and jealous. Sudong must have obtained many treasures in the palace, and this longsword is one of them. The two of them communicated frantically, but it was only a moment. Sudong held the longsword in his hand. His eyes were cold. The broken tooth blade has been refined again. This time, the one that was refined is a knife-shaped magic weapon, and it is also a magic longsword that can be collected by the Fenglao family. It has greatly improved the broken tooth blade. A good magic weapon can greatly improve strength. The display of the secret is smoother and more powerful. You die. The two sides paused for a moment, and Sudong rushed forward with the huge blood-colored space. He quickly approached the two. Not good. No matter how powerful the treasure is, you have to live to get it. This Sudong is too powerful with the magic longsword. I'm quitting. Yao Ming retreated immediately. You quit? Are you scared? But Zuzan roared, and the blood veins on his face began to wriggle, and blood light covered his whole body, and the huge field of heavenly rules was also released. Boom. The Blood Lord sacrificed a blood-colored spear. When the blood-colored spear appeared in front of the Blood Lord, the whole world seemed to be covered with a layer of blood. Even in the sky behind the Blood Lord, many scenes appeared faintly, as if a battlefield full of fighting appeared in the air. An indescribable sense of oppression suddenly emanated from it. Be careful, that is a spear branded with the power of the Void God. Feng Lao Rongzi looked at this scene, and immediately sent a telepathic message to Sudong. At the edge of Yujin Fairy Island, Meng Si Niang, Li Xiangai, the Jin Dynasty patriarch and others also looked at the sky projection with concern. The second update will be sent before 12 o'clock. Chapter 220 Beheading. They had seen Sudong not only withstand the joint attack of the Netherworld Bloodlord and the other two, but also almost kill them with a knife. They were excited, but they didn't expect that the Bloodlord would sacrifice this war spear magic weapon in a blink of an eye. Even though they were projected across the sky, they could still feel the terrible impact of the war spear. With this war spear magic weapon, the power of the Bloodlord's Taoism would probably surge to a higher level. Above the sky, the Bloodlord stood in the air, and the blood-colored war spear he sacrificed in front of him trembled slightly. There was an extremely cold blood light in his eyes. After he sacrificed the war spear, he did not hesitate at all. The spiritual power in his body surged wildly and quickly poured into the war spear. He was originally warlike and bloodthirsty. He worshipped the demon sect and became a giant in the overseas cultivation world. How could a mere warrior scare him? Sudong, I will kill you to get the treasure. Boom. The war spear that condensed the terrifying battlefield phantom trembled suddenly, and suddenly, the battlefield phantom condensed behind it suddenly swept out, covering the sky and the sun. The vast and terrifying bloody battlefield seemed to turn the whole world into a bloody world. The war spear directly turned into a bloody shadow, carrying the bloody battlefield behind it, and pierced directly at Sudong violently. Wherever the war spear passed, the world was buzzing and trembling. The war spear condensed a terrible killing intention and spiritual power fluctuations. That killing intention made all the monks who saw this scene hold their breath. A war spear containing the power of the Void God. Sudong's eyes flickered. Standing in the bloody space, Sudong held the knife with both hands, and saw a bloody light suddenly burst out and quickly condensed into a huge bloody knife light in the bloody space. He fell in love with the knife when he set foot on the road of cultivation. He likes the knife method the most. Along the way, he relied on the knife method to practice the mysteries of heaven and earth. The knife method also reflects his growth path. Now I have obtained a supreme magic weapon longsword. The supreme magic weapon longsword can also bring new insights. Boom. In the blood-colored space, an extremely huge blood-colored sword light condensed, and the next moment, under the sword light, an extremely sharp edge rushed into the sky. The sharp edge emanated from a pair of eyes, and the world seemed to be calm at this moment. There was no fear, no retreat, and all the chaos was dissipated in front of this pair of eyes. Extremely sharp, unstoppable. At this moment, the blood-colored sword light suddenly swung out from Sudong's hand, as if the world was just opened, and the blood-colored space was divided into two at this moment, avoiding it. It's this sword. Sudong roared, his eyes bursting with light. From the time he practiced swordsmanship to now, it condensed all his will, all his swordsmanship, and all his mysteries into the strongest sword. At this moment, the world became dark in an instant, and all the light gathered on that sword light. The extremely huge sword light suddenly burst out. The blood-colored sword light was extremely attractive, and seemed extremely beautiful. It contained the purest mysteries of heaven and earth and the most condensed will. When the blood-colored sword light slashed out, all the monks who looked at this projection felt a chill in their hearts and their scalps tingled. This level of sword light seemed to have reached a limit between heaven and earth. In their eyes, above the sky, the blood-colored sword light split the heaven and earth, and it was unstoppable. It collided fiercely with a war spear that penetrated the space. When the two collided, the projection on the sky of Yijin Fairy Island became completely dark at this moment, as if even the formation of Yijin Fairy Island could not withstand this level of confrontation and impact. However, this collision did not have much momentum, but was extremely restrained, leaving no power at all, and venting all of it in the most violent collision. This darkness lasted for a moment, and when the projection in the sky was restored again, many monks saw it. A blood-colored sword light broke the terrible war spear. Then, he mercilessly slashed from top to bottom on the body of the Bloodlord. Puff! The Bloodlord's body was directly split into two halves, and a small blood-colored Yuanying stayed in the air, with blood-filled eyes looking at Sudang in horror. No, I can't die in your hands. The Bloodlord roared. He, the Bloodlord, rose from obscurity, was bloodthirsty and warlike, and grew up by killing all the way. He had a lot of blood debts on his hands. He had survived so many life and death crises. How could he die here? Puff. After the words fell, the Yuanying of the Bloodlord dissipated, and the top Mahayana cultivator fell. This scene was also witnessed by many cultivators on the island, and they were all silent. And Yao Ming, who had already fled to a distant place, looked back. He had originally hoped that the Bloodlord who sacrificed the terrible war spear would have the strength to fight, and he still had a chance, but when he turned around, the Bloodlord was dead. Crazy, crazy. Yao Ming roared in his mouth. This world is crazy. Is this world really going to rise up a path for the cultivation of the Void God? Unbelievable. Yao Ming also received inheritance. He knew the two cultivation roots of Heavenly Deo Immortal and Void God. This world loves Heavenly Deo Immortal, but it does not mean that the Void God root is not strong. On the contrary, judging from the inheritance obtained by Yao Ming, once the Void God root has achieved something, it is destined to be no weaker than Heavenly Deo Immortal. Therefore, he knew that Sudang would be very scary when he grew up, and specially instructed the ancestor of Wei Chao to plot against Sudang. He wanted to get rid of Sudang early. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. He was afraid that Sudang would rise, but he failed at the beginning, and in a blink of an eye, Sudang had killed Bloodlord. How did Sudang rise so fast? Yao Ming roared in his heart. Sudang, who collected the war spear and many of Bloodlord's leftovers in the void, sensed Yao Ming in the distance. Looking over, a smile appeared on his face. I almost forgot about you. This Yao Ming has a close relationship with Wei Chao. How could he let him go? Wow. Sudang flipped his hand, and the blood-colored longsword in his hand flashed. In the blood-colored space, there were traces of blood-colored airflow that gathered into the longsword's blade. That was the purest 7th level wind mystery power, imprinted on the blade's blade. The blood-colored blade reflected many strange patterns, and it was imprinted with hundreds of patterns, containing fluctuations that made people's heart palpitate. Sudang then swung his sword. What is he doing? Yao Ming was watching from a distance of 100 miles away. At their level, they could see it clearly. Naturally, he saw the sword in Sudang's hand. Seeing it clearly, he was immediately scared to death. That sword. Yao Ming turned around and left without any hesitation. Even at a distance of 100 miles, it still made him tremble. How terrible was that sword? Too late. Sudang sneered. With a casual wave of his hand, an arc of blood-colored sword light burst out, and in the blink of an eye, it penetrated a distance of 100 miles and instantly arrived in front of Yao Ming. No. Yao Ming growled. The sword energy can penetrate 100 miles and still be so strong? Boom. A burst of black light burst out from behind him, and a huge beast phantom appeared faintly in the black light. Chapter 221, Weapons of the Void God. It was a ferocious beast with black hair all over its body, but it exuded an endless dark aura. It appeared and protected behind Yao Ming. At this time, Yao Ming obviously felt that the real life and death crisis had come, and he immediately used all his life-saving methods. Hold on, I can't die. Yao Ming growled with the corner of his mouth. Boom, the terrible knife light penetrated 100 miles, and the blood-colored knife light was imprinted with the mysteries of heaven and earth, and fell heavily on the ferocious beast. Facing such a terrible knife light, the dark light on the ferocious beast quickly dimmed, and finally, with a shrill wail, it exploded directly. The knife light that penetrated the sky and the earth, the endless knife light shining bloody, Yao Ming couldn't open his eyes, and fell on him in an instant. How could the Sudang be so strong, and Zuzan, and I actually wanted to take advantage of him. Yao Ming was full of regret and frustration at this moment. He should have chased Sudang to kill him, instead of being killed, and fleeing in embarrassment like this. I want to survive. Yao Ming roared in his heart. But the blood-red blade light fell, and the extremely sharp blade intent reflected the mountains, rivers, palaces, and a blood-red world. In front of this blade light, everything turned to ashes and was crushed. Unstoppable. The sharp blade force penetrated the field of the heavenly Dao rules of Yao Ming, and the blade intent split everything, and penetrated the sky. The sky was full of black and purple light. Yao Ming was split in half in the first moment. Although he tried his best to resist, the dark beast could resist nearly 30% of the attack power before, but this was a knife that was close to the power level after all. Even if it was weakened by 30%, it was enough to easily split Yao Ming's body. He was good at soul attack, and he was average in physical training. Whoosh, a black light flashed, and a small Yuanying drilled out from his forehead. I survived. Yao Ming's Yuanying cried out, and the little Yuanying's dark eyes looked at the dissipated sword light and Sudang in the distance, with both relief and palpitations in his eyes. Although I survived, my physical body is gone, and many treasures are gone. Forget it, it's good to be alive. Yao Ming roared in his heart. Whoosh. The black Yuanying turned into a tortuous black light and streaked across the sky and disappeared between heaven and earth in a blink of an eye. Ha. This can survive. Sudang watched from afar. He did not swing the long sword in his hand again. The power of his sword relied on the extraordinary long sword in his hand, plus the mark of the mystery of heaven and earth, which burst out in an instant, so that it could have such power. It was not a casual sword. His Yuanying is actually in the center of his eyebrows. Sudang flew over directly and collected the scattered treasures on Yao Ming. Many cultivators in various places on Yijing Immortal Island looked up at this scene. Their eyes were focused on this battle. Witness everything with their own eyes. Dead. The Blood Lord of the Demon Sect is dead. Another blow. Yao Ming is seriously injured. Even his body is gone. The Immortal cultivators were surprised and disgusted. In this battle, it was originally the Blood Lord and Yao Ming who suddenly attacked Sudang, but the result was that one of them died and the other was injured. If Yao Ming hadn't run fast, I'm afraid he would have died too. The Immortal cultivators were a little confused. The result of the battle in front of them was really weird. The top Mahayana cultivator was killed like that without any resistance. Crazy. Sudang, could it be that he has become a martial god? How is it possible? If he became a martial god, he would have broken through the void and transcended the world. What a realm that is. They were completely shocked. In the past, this world of cultivation was their world. When did warriors become so strong? Sudang. So strong that it was beyond their understanding. Even Meng Si Niang, Li Xiangai, the ancestors of the Jin Dynasty, etc. were all shocked. Looking at the last blow, to chase and kill Yao Ming, their hearts were trembling. What a terrible knife that was. It penetrated 100 miles and still had such terrible attack power, almost killing Yao Ming. What's going on, Great Venerable? Is that the human warrior who offended your heavenly demon army and should be killed? In the sky, a group of monsters gathered together, among which there was a great demon with 6 long arms, and his whole body was covered in a dark green robe. He was the Great Venerable Candle Demon, one of the many great demon leaders behind the heavenly demon army. Next to it, a great demon with tentacles on his head asked doubtfully, and his ugly face was full of palpitations. Is that the person you said we should join forces to get rid of when we meet him? The great demons next to him glared at him. The great venerable Zuomu's face turned green, and he stared at the projection in the sky with great ugliness. ZHUMO, give up. You actually want us to kill him. You want us to die. Zuzan has fallen, and Yuming was killed and fled. I dare not say anything else. When Zuzan sacrificed the war spear, I was no match for him. Everyone, I don't feel comfortable in this Yijing fairy island. Sudong's sword is so powerful that it can reach a distance of 100 miles. I won't stay any longer. I'll leave first. Whoosh. A top Mahayana demon turned around and flew away without stopping. Sudong was famous for his hatred for the demon clan. If you accidentally meet Sudong and get stabbed by him, it's no joke. Most of these top Mahayana demons have lived for a long time. After surviving for a long time, they are naturally more cautious and shrewd than each other. This book has been updated recently in #@. Update. Sudong is invincible. ZHUMO Dazun was unwilling, but also thankful. Fortunately I didn't meet him, otherwise I would have really fallen into Sudong's hands today. Now it's good that they are killing each other. Good kill. Look, Sudong took the treasures of the Blood Lord, even the war spear. The war spear is a top treasure. They watched Sudong put away many treasures. Some were jealous. They were all top treasures. Sudong took the treasures left by the netherworld. His mind moved slightly, and he scanned the storage bag, and his eyes suddenly lit up. First grade spiritual essence. This netherworld has a lot of gains, and it has a first grade spiritual essence. Sudong couldn't help laughing. Your biggest gain this time is the war spear. The war spear is not the magic weapon of the heavenly Deo Immortal, but the weapon of the Void God. It is branded with the mysteries of heaven and earth, and has residual power. Feng Lao Rungs, he reminded. Well, I know. Sudong smiled and nodded. He also looked at the war spear in the storage bag. The spear contained a bloody glow, and there was a faint roar of fighting spirit. This was the weapon of the Void God. It was the biggest gain of his trip. After putting everything away, Sudong turned his head and saw Ling Zuzi still standing far away, staring at him blankly. Seeing Sudong looking at him, he was instantly awakened. He bowed repeatedly and even put away the magic sword above his head. Saint, I was not in a good attitude before. Please don't blame me. I don't have any treasures on me. Saint, don't attack me, Ling Zuzi said. Sudong couldn't help but smile. He ignored Ling Zuzi. The latter was an unlucky guy. All the treasures were taken away by Pu Zhi. Now they are on him. It's short, but in fact, this battle from the beginning to the end, it was only a moment. Sudong put away the treasure and wanted to leave. Suddenly, boom, the space trembled, and one huge flying boat after another flew into the sky. They fell directly. There were Buddhists and Taoist masters above. There were also evil cultivators rushing over. Where's Puzhi? Where's that bold donkey Puzhi? He deserves to die for killing my evil wind sect heir. Huh. Ling Zuzi, why are you alone? Is that Sudong of the Jin Dynasty? Why are you bowing to Sudong? On the flying boat, everyone was a leader of the Buddhist sect, the head of the Taoist sect, the leader of the evil wind sect, and other powerful people who had just arrived. They had no idea what was going on. As soon as they arrived, they saw Ling Zuzi bowing to Sudong. Chapter 222, Half-Step Heavenly Deo Power. At the same time, these latecomers instantly received many voice transmissions. After receiving these many voice transmissions, they were all stunned. What? Bloodlord fell, and Netherworld was seriously injured? Master Puzhi was probably killed by Sudong? Is Sudong so powerful? After being shocked, these immortal cultivators who had not seen the battle scene just now, but came with a large number of people and a fierce momentum, all looked at Sudong with shining eyes. Doesn't that mean that many treasures are now in Sudong's hands? This Sudong has no background. He is just a little guy who rose from the Jin Dynasty on land. The Jin Dynasty was nothing in their eyes. They did not see the scene of Bloodlord being killed and Netherworld being seriously injured by a knife, and their minds were instantly covered by greed. Master, Xiaoluo died in the hands of Pu Zhi, and the immortal cauldron must have fallen into the hands of Pu Zhi, and Pu Zhi was suspected to have fallen into the hands of Sudong. The immortal cauldron is very likely in the hands of Sudan. On the huge flying boat of the evil wind sect, a disciple whispered to the ear of the evil wind sect's master, the evil king. The evil king had a handsome face, and his eyes were like stars. However, there was an endless murderous aura between his eyebrows. At this moment, he was staring at Sudong in front of him. Similarly, the Dao sect was also whispering to Ling Zuzi, "Master, we must not be enemies with Sudong." Ling Zuzi kept whispering. He was afraid that the master of the Dao sect would take action. However, the head of the Buddhist sect, Master Pu Zuan, stepped directly into the void. Every time he stepped into the void, a golden lotus bloomed under his feet. The golden lotus bloomed in the void, which was extremely mysterious and shocked many immortal cultivators who were watching. Everyone knew that Sudong was carrying many treasures on him at the moment, but he was also frightened by the whisper and was hesitating. The Buddhist sect was the first to speak up. Pussy had sent a message before, saying that he had a great opportunity, and that he had tricked Link Suzy, killed Xiaoluo, and obtained many treasures. Moreover, Pussy was carrying the most precious treasure of our Buddhist sect, the pure spirit prayer beads. Puxin was also unwilling to be the first to speak up, but Master Pussy had too many treasures. In addition, they had not been able to contact Pussy since before, and the last message they received from the Buddhist sect was that Master Pussy told them that he had met Sudong. And then that was it. He met Sudong, and then he cut off the message. If it wasn't falling into Sudong's hands, then what else could it be? Saint Su, I'm Puxin, and I have long heard of your reputation. Today, I see that you are indeed extraordinary. Puxin walked up and looked at Sudong and said, "Master Puxin, I have something else to do today, so I won't stay here any longer. If we are destined, we will meet again another day." Sudong turned around, too lazy to talk nonsense with Puxin, and wanted to leave directly. Boom boom. A huge golden lotus suddenly emerged from the void. The golden lotus suddenly appeared, dozens of feet in size. The golden lotus was shining like a small golden sun, illuminating the whole world. The golden lotus quickly grew larger behind Sudong, and with a terrible spiritual power fluctuation, it smashed directly towards Sudong. Pu Zuan did not hesitate at all, and regardless of the face of Buddhism, he took action directly. Pu Zuan, this bald donkey. Li Xiangai cursed directly. The old ancestor of the Jin Dynasty also had an ugly face, and Meng Si Niang's face was as cold as ice. As the leader of the righteous path, he actually attacked from behind. This is too shameless. It's not Pu Zuan's fault. Sudong has a treasure on him, and Pu Zuan himself is the top of the Mahayana, close to the immortal of the heavenly way. It is said that Pu Zuan is only half a step away from breaking through to become an immortal. What a prestige. Naturally we can't let Sudong be rampant. Some immortal cultivators secretly exclaimed in disgust. A terrifying blood-colored space suddenly spread out. Sudong held a blood-red long knife in his hand, and blood-red air currents were floating behind him. He turned around and stood in the air, his eyes flickering slightly, looking at the huge golden lotus that was smashing down fiercely. A hint of coldness appeared on his face. A Buddhist monk, nothing more than that. Sudong snorted coldly. You are extremely murderous, unable to distinguish between good and evil, and have already fallen into the devil's way. Let me take you in. Pu Zuan's face was flashing with golden light. In the golden light, a pair of eyes were like angry Vajra, bursting out with brilliant fluctuations. Pu Zuan was carrying a surging murderous intent, and the rules of the heaven around him condensed into substance, as if they had turned into golden flames. The flames burned the space, and turned it into a golden sea of fire, which also spread towards Sudong. Ridiculous, isn't it for the treasure? Sudong's blood-red space was split, and a huge blood-red knife light burst out instantly. The blood-red blade light appeared, and the world was eclipsed in this instant, as if only that blood-red blade light remained between heaven and earth, entangled with the rising marks of the mysteries of heaven and earth, and the blood-red blade light left a brilliant track in the air, slashing straight towards the golden lotus. Boom. The projection in the sky dimmed again at this moment, and when the projection lit up, the golden lotus emitting a terrifying golden light and the golden flames all surged in an instant, colliding with the blade light without fear, trying to crush the blade light and crush Sudong into slag. Swish. Sudong's figure passed through a blood-red shadow in the air and instantly burst out. At the same time, the blood-red longsword in his hand swung and then rushed into the golden flame. Wow. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. A dark red stream of light flashed. Sudong's body was covered with a dark red battlesuit, and the golden flames touched the dark red battlesuit, but the dark red battlesuit did not show any abnormality. Battlesuit magic weapon. Puzuan was startled. Sudong rushed through the golden flames and arrived in front of Puzuan. He waved the long sword in his hand and performed the 7th level of the wind mystery. Dazzling blood-red sword lights crossed the sky for a long time, condensing into a terrible sword intent, and phantoms appeared between heaven and earth. Mountains and rivers were broken, the void trembled, demons died, evil cultivators fell, and blood flowed like a river. Whoosh! The sword light instantly fell on Puzuan, and the extremely sharp sword intent directly swept across Puzuan's body. Swish! A stream of golden blood flew out from Puzuan's neck. Puzuan's eyes widened, and the whole body burst into golden heavenly light. One sword, break my immortal golden body? He is a Buddhist monk, and he practiced the top Buddhist method of immortal golden body. With his profound Taoism, he has reached the level of half-step immortal, and mastered some of the power of heaven. How long has it been since he was injured? His swordsmanship has a power level? Puzuan was shocked. What? Puzuan's old bull donkey's immortal golden body was broken with one sword. The evil king and the head of the Dao sect were also shocked. As half-step heavenly immortals, they all mastered some of the power of heaven at their level. The void god is the power of God, and the heavenly immortal is the power of heaven. Although Sudong killed the Blood Lord and the Netherworld was seriously injured and fled, they did not have an intuitive understanding of Sudong's strength. At this moment, they saw it with their own eyes. Sudong, wearing a dark red battlesuit, jumped up, and the dazzling sword slashed Puzuan's neck, leaving a wound, and immediately there was a more intuitive manifestation of strength. Half-step martial god. Mastering some of the power of the god level. Sudong's sword really shocked the evil king, the head of the Dao sect, and Puzuan, who was wrapped in golden light. But the battle did not allow Puzuan to think too much. Everything happened in an instant. Half-step heavenly Dao immortal power. This is heavenly Dao power defense. Sudong also thought in his heart. I'm not half-step god power. I'm the 7th level of heaven and earth mystery enlightenment, plus the sublimation of the broken tooth knife. I have half-step heaven and earth mystery power. This is the essential difference. Heaven and earth mystery power can be further improved, but their heavenly Dao power, unless they break through and become heavenly Dao immortals, it is impossible to make any further progress. Swish, golden blood splashed. In a head-on confrontation, Sudong was safe and sound, but Puzuan was injured. Chapter 223 Siege. Under normal circumstances, it is extremely difficult to kill a half-step heavenly Dao immortal in this world, unless the attack level is strong enough to reach the heavenly Dao immortal level. However, this world is flawed, and it is impossible for heavenly Dao immortals to be born. Therefore, for the immortal cultivators like Puzuan and Ziwang, who are truly at the top of this world, it has been difficult for them to get hurt for a long time, let alone be killed. But Sudong's knife shocked all the immortal cultivators. If they can be hurt, then they may be killed. Of course, it is not easy. I consume a lot of true energy when calling on the mysteries of heaven and earth. Or my skills are not enough. Sudong narrowed his eyes slightly, and his figure took a step back, exiting the range of the golden flames. Practicing the power of the mysteries of heaven and earth is powerful, but it also consumes a lot of energy. Sudong's own shortcomings are also obvious. Compared to them, your foundation is too shallow. When you have cultivated your skills to the level of a half-step void god, which is what you call a half-step martial god in this world, then with the power of a half-step god and the power of a half-step heaven and earth mystery, it will be easy for you to kill him. Feng Larangzi telepathically transmitted his voice. Sudong, you are qualified to look down on anyone in this world, and you will eventually surpass them. Your goal is the void. I know. Sudong nodded. Boom. The golden flames controlled by Puzuan in front of him were layered. They spread towards Sudong. At the same time, a golden palm print also crushed over. Sudong easily changed his figure, and his dark red figure flashed, easily dodging the palm print, and at the same time, swung his sword again, and the dazzling blood red sword light flashed, and the sword light instantly swept across Puzuan's outstretched arm, and then a wound appeared on the arm. The sword light was unmatched. Puzuan's body defense is really strong, relying on power defense. It weakens and offsets my attack power layer by layer. His golden body is indeed extraordinary. Swish. Sudong swung out the knife light again, and forced Puzuan. The blood-colored knife light bloomed in the air, and the knife light condensed, and did not dissipate, as if a huge blood-colored lotus bloomed in the air, reflecting Puzuan's golden lotus, which was extremely beautiful, but this pleasing to the eye contained an extremely terrifying power. Every time the knife light was on, the golden light on Puzuan's body would dim. The knife light was too fast, and the knife technique was extremely mysterious. There was no way to avoid it, and I could only bear it. Puzuan's face was so ugly that blood was about to drip. What are you looking at? This Sudong also took the treasures of your Zifeng sect and Ao sect, and you just let him go? Puzuan anxiously transmitted the message. Take action. Take action together. Immediately, the evil king and the leader of the Dao sect flew out of the flying boat. The evil king was shining with dreamy light, as if an illusory bell shadow covered his whole body. He controlled a small silver bell, and silver ripples rippled on the small bell. The space hummed and trembled, and fell towards Sudong. The leader of the Dao sect pinched the magic formula with his hands. There was a huge Stake-eye diagram rotating behind him, and at the same time, a huge magic sword appeared above his head. The magic sword flashed with dazzling sword light, and the sword light stirred the wind and clouds, and black and white air extended out. The three of them attacked Sudong at the same time. This scene fell into the eyes of many cultivators on Yijin Fairy Island, and they all felt a little crazy. The two paths of good and evil actually joined forces to deal with a warrior. Except for Meng Xinayang and Li Xiangai, who looked ugly and thought they were shameless, the others did not feel uncomfortable at all. This is a duel between immortal cultivators and warriors. This world is ours. How can warriors suppress us? Immortality is the orthodox way of cultivation. They shared the same hatred for the enemy, so how could they watch Sudong rise? The three of them attacked Sudong together, but Sudong was covered in a blood-colored space, and the blood-colored airflow spread throughout the 70-foot space. This 70-foot space was his world. His figure was erratic, and neither the evil king nor the leader of the Taoist sect could catch up with him. A dark red light flashed, and a knife light flashed, flashing blood-colored knife flowers. It easily passed through many magic weapons and Taoist methods, and slashed towards Puzuan in the front. Puzuan was the first to attack, and Sudong deliberately targeted the latter. Swish, 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 the knife lights fell on Puzuan. The blood-colored knife lights were beautiful and soul-stirring, but they were also accompanied by terrifying power. When they fell on Puzuan, they left a terrible wound. Just targeting me? Why are you targeting me? You two are still hiding, and not using your full strength at this time. Puzuan roared. This Sudong's sword is too terrible. Every sword can break his indestructible golden body defense. How long can he last if it goes on like this? Old bald donkey, why don't we use our full strength? Didn't you see my yin yang bipolar sword art fall on that Sudong? But it's like tickling him. He doesn't care. The leader of the Dao sect was anxious. The dark red battle suit he wears is also a top-notch body protection magic weapon. The three half-step heavenly immortals besieged Sudong alone, and Sudong suppressed one of them. In terms of speed, their speeds are all extreme speeds, but the defensive ability of Sudong's number 2 key battle suit is there. This half-step heavenly power level attack only makes me feel some vibration. The number 2 key battle suit has improved its defensive ability as my skills improve. Sudong was secretly happy. The attack of the power level of the half-step heavenly Dao landed on him. After the fluctuation of the holy domain, the blood-colored space weakened it by 30%, and then the battle suit weakened it by nearly 70%, leaving less than 10%, which was really like tickling. Wow. Sudong swung the long sword in his hand. It feels good. It feels good. I haven't used my sword skills so freely for a long time. This book has been updated recently in #@. Update. This sword is a bit weak. Sudong fought more and more fiercely, and gradually, he was completely immersed in the sword skills. This experience of fighting with a half-step heavenly Dao immortal is rare. In the past, no one guided him, and he could make progress step by step, by thinking on his own. At this moment in the battle, Sudong used his sword skills again and again. He used them more, and faced a half-step heavenly Dao cultivator, whose Taoism was also exquisite. Sudong immediately found that his sword skills still had flaws. If there are flaws, you must try to improve them, and this process of improvement is progress. Feng Lurangzi, who was staying on Sudong's chest, noticed that Sudong's state was different at the first time. At this moment, Sudong did not feel like he was fighting for his life, but more like a great calligrapher splashing ink and writing freely, like a painter sketching mountains and rivers at will. The knife in his hand was the pen, and the mysteries of the world were the ink. After the sacrifice, the broken tooth knife was upgraded to a higher level, and Sudong's knife skills were qualitatively improved in an instant. It was just a small improvement. Now immersed in the comprehension of knife skills, Sudong's mind seemed to have a lightning bolt. I rely on knife skills to practice the mysteries of heaven and earth. In knife skills, in addition to the important method, the knife is equally important. The level of the knife is not enough. How difficult it is to touch the higher level of the mysteries of heaven and earth. If you want to do your job well, you must first sharpen your tools. The level of the knife is improved, and the feeling of using the knife skills is different. This knife should be like this. Sudong's eyes became brighter and brighter. Wow. Sudong's body flashed with dark red light and shadow. This flash completely exceeded the previous speed limit. The blood red longsword in his hand thrust forward. This thrust seemed to contain a unique charm. At this moment, the space between heaven and earth was gently cut open by this thrust, just like the surface of water. The blood red longsword slashed across the sky, leaving a very faint mark in the sky. This straight thrust, without the beauty of the previous sword light, only the unique charm remained, and it fell on Pu Zuan's shoulder. Ah! A terrified roar sounded, and an arm covered with golden light suddenly flew up from midair, carrying a large amount of golden blood. This was one of Pu Zuan's arms, who cultivated the immortal golden body, and was known as the strongest physique in the world. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, A Stroke of God. Cut off the old bull donkey's arm with one knife. The evil king drove the silver bell shadow and retreated violently. Run. Run quickly. The leader of the Dao sect did not hesitate at all, and turned around and left. He was directly frightened by the knife. Pu Zuan also retreated violently in the golden light. Their speeds reached the limit of the speed between heaven and earth. Their bodies were covered with the field of heavenly rules. In an instant, they escaped thousands of miles away. They even communicated with each other while running away. What's going on, old bald donkey? How did you suddenly lose an arm? The evil king asked. Pu Zuan's face was ugly, and he lowered his head to look at the broken arm. The blood had stopped, and was covered with a faint golden light. What a terrible knife technique. It was terrible at the beginning, but I could still withstand it. Then the sudden knife stabbed straight. The power. It felt like it was not at the same level as us. It was too terrible. Pu Zuan shook his head. They looked back, still with disbelief on their faces. In the air, Sudong held a bloody long knife, and glanced at the three people who ignored the people on the flying boat, and fled to the distance in an instant. The entire void was silent, and everyone was trembling with fear at the scene just now. Three half-step heavenly Dao immortals joined forces to besiege him, and one of them had his arm cut off, so he could only flee in embarrassment. If he hadn't fled slowly, he would have died here today. Three giants at the level of leaders of good and evil joined forces. The killed ones fled. In the history of cultivation in this world, there has never been a half-step heavenly Dao immortal who was killed in a fight. That was already the limit of this world, but today, one almost died. He actually cut off Master Pu Zuan's arm with one sword. He is truly close to being a heavenly immortal. How terrifying is the power of the Buddha's law. The three leaders of Buddhism, Taoism and evil cultivation attacked him at the same time, and he was almost killed. Sudong's swordsmanship is too terrifying. I feel like it is no longer a swordsmanship in this world. Did you see it just now? That sword stabbed out, as if it was not in the space. It seemed to cut through the space. They didn't know what kind of strange scene it was, but if the space was compared to a painting, they were all people in the painting. But that sword had broken through the confinement of the painting, and was about to reach the outside of the painting. Shocked, stunned, Sudong stood in the void, looking at the long sword in his hand, recalling that sword in his heart. That sword, so terrifying. How did I swing that sword? Sudong himself was also confused. He swung the first sword, so he could swing the second sword naturally. But in his heart, he didn't fully understand it. Just like a painter painted a stunning painting, relying on luck and a moment of inspiration. It was like a stroke of genius. He tried to think about it carefully and study it, but he couldn't figure it out. Your sword almost has the feeling of supernatural power, just like the immortal golden body of the monk just now, but he relied too much on the golden body and fell behind. You are different. You have a very high level of understanding of the mysteries of heaven and earth. Suddenly you master this kind of swordsmanship at the level of supernatural power. Of course, it is terrible. Feng Lao Rangxi smiled and said, but the fact that you can master this kind of swordsmanship at the level of supernatural power shows that your understanding of the mysteries of heaven and earth has also reached a new height, and it is not far from breaking through the 8th level. Maybe I understand this sword, and I understand the 8th level. Sudong smiled. Give this sword a name, a nice name. Even in the void god and the heavenly Dao immortal who master this kind of swordsmanship at the level of supernatural power are extraordinary. Feng Lao Rangxi sighed. Sudong's understanding is really terrible. She admires him a little. Name. Sudong pondered for a moment and said to Feng Lao Rangxi in his heart, I don't understand this knife. It's just a flash of inspiration. Let's call it a stroke of genius. Knife technique, a stroke of genius. Well, this name is good. Feng Lao Rangxi smiled. He talked to Feng Lao Rangxi in his heart. Then he turned his head and looked at the immortal cultivators on the flying boat, who were staring at him blankly. He still had a smile on his face. But when they saw him looking at them, their faces changed drastically, and they looked at Sudong in panic. They didn't even dare to escape. Their speed was not as fast as Sudong's knife. Sudong ignored them. This battle was enough for him to establish his prestige in this overseas immortal cultivation world, so there was no need to kill them. These evil cultivators of the evil wind sect. Sudong glanced over. He saw 5 or 6 of them were entangled in serious sins. He looked towards us. The evil wind sect had Mahayana and transformation, and they were all shocked when they saw Sudong's eyes. This Sudong is famous for his hard relationship with evil cultivators. Although I practice the immortal evil skill, I have never committed any murder. This book has been updated recently in .. Update. They were panicked, and some of them fell to their knees. They kowtowed to Sudong and begged for mercy. You sinners, it is your retribution to meet me. Sudong had a thought, and several blood-colored air currents burst out from the blood-colored space, drifting and falling on the flying boat of the evil wind sect, easily killing several cultivators. Among them, there was one who kowtowed and begged for mercy. He was killed instantly without any resistance. The rest of the people were terrified. Just shock them. It is understandable for cultivators to practice Taoism and pursue immortality. If you commit murder in vain, you will eventually die. Sudong glanced at these cultivators and turned around. The blood-colored space was clear. The blood-colored air currents dissipated. Everything returned to peace, and his body flew away. Key number 1 was on Meng Xinayang, and he could easily sense the position, but he still flew slowly over. Many figures in the sky watched Sudong leave, and no one dared to stop him, and they didn't even dare to breathe. Only when Sudong flew far away did the disciples of the 3 sects drive the flying boat and leave the place in a hurry. Many immortal cultivators on the entire Yijin Immortal Island were shocked. Looking at the projection in the sky, the figure of the young man kept flying away. At this moment, no immortal cultivator felt that they were superior and underestimated the other party because he was a warrior. Cultivators like Wei Chang of the 9 ancestors could only look up. The long life given to them by the heavenly way of immortal cultivators would be easily ended in front of such warriors. Such strong men were too dazzling, enough to leave legends between heaven and earth and spread forever, killing Bloodlord and seriously injuring Yao Ming. It was just a small test. Facing the 3 half-step heavenly immortal leaders, he still burst out with terrible fighting power, killing 2 people and causing 1 person to flee and break his arm. This series of achievements is enough to shock the overseas immortal cultivation world. What a terrifying warrior. Too powerful, he is simply undefeated. The immortal cultivators in various areas of Yijin Fairy Island all talk to each other. In the previous projections of several battles, Su Dong's strength had completely conquered them. This is a world where the strong are respected. As long as you have enough strength, whether you are a human or a monster, you will be recognized and respected. And Su Dong is undoubtedly the real top powerhouse in this world, the peerless powerhouse. No matter how many treasures they have, they dare not have any bad thoughts. From now on, there will be one more real peerless top powerhouse in this world, that is Su Dong. When we see him in the future, we must also call him Saint Venerable. To show respect. Yes, that kind of strength deserves the title of Saint Venerable. Spontaneously, these immortal cultivators gave Su Dong a title. There is no doubt that this is the common honorific title and recognition of Su Dong by all immortal cultivators. The monsters have to admit that they are jealous and in awe at the same time. The biggest battle on Yijin Fairy Island has made the human race's peerless powerhouse in the Jin Dynasty, Saint Venerable Su Dong. End of this volume. Chapter 225 Return with a full load. Yao Ming, who escaped from Yijin Fairy Island, took off his silver mask and looked grim. The news also reached him. It is said that Su Dong killed the Bloodlord and he fled. In the battle that made Su Dong famous, he became a stepping stone. Su Dong is still hiding his strength. Yao Ming looked grim and gritted his teeth. Even the old bull donkey Pu Zuan was seriously injured. It is even easier to kill me. How did he practice? Rising so fast, will there be a way for my Wei dynasty to survive in the future? Yao Ming roared in his heart. In the past, among the 3 countries on the land, the Jin Dynasty was known as a country founded by the righteous Wei, and his Wei dynasty was controlled by evil cultivators. They were not good at dealing with each other. In addition, his Wei dynasty deliberately assassinated Su Dong, but failed in the end. Although Su Dong also killed many evil cultivators of Wei dynasty in one breath as revenge, it was a grudge after all. How could it be so easy to let it go? It's over. Su Dong has risen. There will be no good days for Wei dynasty and me in the future. If I continue to stay in Wei dynasty, Su Dong will really come to kill me, and I won't have a chance to escape. Well, leave Wei dynasty, and return to the overseas cultivation world. After all, the overseas cultivation world is vast. I can just find an island. Su Dong is not a real martial god, and can't find me. Yao Ming immediately sent a message to many subordinates of Wei dynasty. When the 2 Wei dynasty ancestors heard that Yao Ming was leaving, they all wanted to follow him. Su Dong has risen, and if they stay here, they will die. They drove the flying boat away. On a huge island in the overseas cultivation world, there are magnificent temples and palaces on the island. The sound of Zen is lingering, and the fairy mist is hazy. The huge temple hall standing at the highest point of the entire island exudes a strong golden light. The golden light spreads and also covers this temple. This temple can be seen everywhere on the entire island. The island is extremely huge, and there are also mortal residents. Every resident believes in Buddhism and worships the golden temple every day. In their eyes, Buddhism is the gods and the master of this world. In the largest temple, an old monk whose eyebrows have long been completely white was meditating and listening to the chanting of many disciples under his seat. The sound was neat and regular, and it seemed that there was a special mystery contained in it. Listening to the chanting, the old monk took out a communication token. Wow. Pu Zuan's figure appeared directly in the hall. This figure floated in the hall and chanted a Buddhist name with one hand. In name, Pu Zuan is the host of Buddhism, but the strongest person is this old man. Supreme. Pu Zuan bowed his head respectfully. His voice was full of shame. Come back and practice well. The opening of Yijin Fairy Island is not an opportunity for my Buddhism. There is no need to force it. Your junior brother Pussy has already fallen into a desperate situation. You don't need to take risks. The old man opened his eyes and his voice was magnificent, like the sound of Buddha, echoing in the hall. But such a movement did not affect every monk in the hall at all, as if they had really reached the state of closing the five senses and treating the outside world as nothing. Yes. Puxan bowed in the air. Puxan, your injury. The old man looked at Puxan's broken arm with concern. It didn't hurt the foundation, but my disciple practiced the immortal golden body, and his body is strong and powerful. If you want to regenerate a broken limb, you also need a lot of spiritual essence to nourish it, and it will take a long time. Puxan said in a low voice. The more powerful the body is, the less likely it is to be injured. But at the same time, once injured, it will cost a huge price to recover. After all, such a strong body cannot be simply reshaped. It's good. The old monk nodded. Puzuan bowed and nodded again, and then the communication was cut off. In the hall, the white-browed old monk put away the talisman in his hand. The old monk was extremely calm from beginning to end, and at this moment he couldn't help but mutter in a low voice, Sudang. Puzhi fell into Sudang's hands. Puzuan was seriously injured, and Sudang rose up by stepping on his Buddhist sect. Although he was also angry in his heart, he had to admit that Sudang was indeed a terrifying figure. He was so young, but he rose to this point. His swordsmanship was extremely exquisite. He practiced the mysteries of heaven and earth, and he was equipped with a top-notch protective magic armor, which could withstand the attacks of a half-step heavenly immortal. These 2 points alone made Sudang extremely terrifying. Become a peerless strongman. In the past, this Sudang was not worth paying attention to. After all, he was just a warrior. But now, he has truly risen. If anyone in this world can become a void god, this Sudang must be the first person. But, the world is missing, and everyone is trapped in the last step. What can he do? The white-browed old monk said silently. The Buddhist sect had received top-level inheritance, and had some understanding of the void. Unless you break through the level of martial gods, your lifespan is 300 years. 300 years will pass in the blink of an eye. Let Sudang shine for 300 years. His knife was so terrible, why didn't he attack Puzuan's vitals? Is he merciful? Perhaps, we can negotiate with Sudang, and buy back my Buddhist treasure. The old monk closed his eyes, and began to chant sutras and chant Buddha again. The whole hall fell into harmony. For an old guy like him who has lived for a long time, he has long seen through the truth of the world. What hatred and entanglement are nothing but interests. Although Puzuan attacked Sudang, it was also for the Buddhist treasure. Similarly, as long as they pay enough, they can get the treasure back, and make peace with Sudang again. The world is bustling for profit, and the world is bustling for profit. There is no eternal enemy. On the outskirts of Yijin Fairy Island, Mengxi Niang, Li Xiangai, the ancestors of the Jin Dynasty and others gathered here. They have been paying attention to the battle, projected in the sky, when Sudang suddenly exploded, killing Puzuan, and causing the 3 leaders of good and evil to flee. They were also shocked. So powerful. That sword technique. I feel like it's going to break the void. Prime Minister Li was a little confused. Such a record was enough to shock the whole world. From now on, my Jin Dynasty has truly produced a peerless strongman. The ancestor of the Jin Dynasty was also very excited. Whoosh! A figure flew over from a distance. It was Sudang. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. They hurried to meet him. Congratulations. Congratulations. The 9th ancestor Ren Changning bowed to Sudang. Congratulations to the saint for taking another step forward and not far from becoming a martial god. If you want to say who in this world can become a martial god, it must be the saint. Everyone congratulated. Sudang also nodded slightly. He didn't know these people in the past, but now they are extremely enthusiastic. He flew to Mengxi Niang and others. Talked with them for a while. The strength is different, the status is also different. The ancestors of the Jin Dynasty are all polite to him. Indeed, Sudang is not just a saint in the 10 square pavilion now. After a while, everyone dispersed. I will go to Yugang Mountain to report first, and I will go to Ning'an after a while. Mengxi Niang whispered to Sudang before leaving. I will return the treasure bag to you then. Sudang had a smile on his face. No need to return it to me, he whispered. But in his heart, he thought that it would be best to leave the number 1 queue with Si Niang, so that if the latter encounters any danger, he can appear at the first time. Does that mean I don't have to go to Ningen? Meng Si Niang raised the corner of her mouth slightly and said in a voice transmission. Ah, of course not. Sudong couldn't help but say. Don't worry, I will go. I haven't eaten the food in Ningen for a long time. Meng Si Niang said in a voice transmission. After she finished speaking, her pretty face flushed slightly for some reason, and then she turned around and left with the people of the 9 ancestors. Is this your ideal partner? Feng Laurang's voice suddenly came to his mind. Sudong was startled. You. Well, not bad. The Holy Heart is clear. If I hadn't met you, it would not be bad to follow her. Feng Laurang's said with a smile. I didn't expect that there is such a good woman in this small world. Sudong was silent. Let's go back to Sudong and the ancestors of the Jin Dynasty. Li Xiangai and others drove the flying boat together to leave Yijin Fairy Island and fly towards the Jin Dynasty. And this time on Yijin Fairy Island, Sudong returned with a full load in the true sense. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.